I wish I knew how to quit you.
Then why don't you?
You're listening to Codependent Content, the podcast where we discuss the TV shows, movies, books, and video games in which we share an unhealthy relationship.
I do okay.
Are you kidding me?
My name is Mattias. Join us as we try to unravel the characters, stories, and worlds that we are entangled with. Because just when we think we're done with content, it draws us back in. Welcome back, Cocoa Heads. We're trying it out. I don't know if that's ever going to be a fun little thing. Maybe Cocoa Melons? No, wait, hold on. No, you don't get that. You don't have a child. What do you guys want to be called? This is Codependent Content. If you're a fan of Codependent Content,
Press
or Cocoa, what are you? Are you a Cocoa Head? Anyway, my name's Mattias. I'm joined today by Morgan.
What's going on, y'all?
Welcome back. Today we are talking about Season 2, Episode 6 of The Last of Us, titled The Price.
There's a lot to talk about.
This episode comes in at 110 minutes.
Is it that long?
Yeah, I looked at... Well, there's behind the scenes and credits and stuff too. Oh. So I think... Because I noticed it still had some runtime. So probably... not 110 minutes. That's my bad. An hour and 10 minutes. So I think it went for like just an hour. It definitely went over. It's probably not the longest episode, but it's definitely, it's definitely longer than last week's episode, which is great. They kind of like balanced it out for a short season. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. It is what it is, right? Yeah. But yeah, this one's going to be a little interesting because it's an entirely fully flashback episode, right? We're not even following the story. And I don't know how I feel about that. It's just, in one way, I like it. I like the game. This is very much in line with what I expected. We knew this was coming, but at the end of the day, it's like, we're not talking about the story because the story's happening elsewhere.
That's right.
So I feel like our discussion is going to be a little bit different tonight, and just in terms of general, I don't know there's too much deep diving to go into because it's all pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's very much like these are the things that happened, and it's just kind of like filling in gaps for you, not necessarily something that needs to kind of be explored or analyzed to kind of delve into like what's happening with our characters, because this is stuff that happened before. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think it's a different kind of conversation, tonight.
I do. And I think I agree in general. Mm-hmm. I do have actually, it's funny. We talked about the episode a little bit before we started rolling, but even just hearing you talk about this now, I have a question for you.
Sure.
And you can answer it now.
Yeah.
Or we can put a pin in it and I'll ask you at the very end.
Before we get there, let's just say, if you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode. We're going to spoil things. This is a spoiler podcast.
Yeah,
we talk about it. Typically, we deep dive into things, is what I'm saying, but it might be a little bit of a different discussion today. We're enjoying the journey, as it were, know? And I don't know where it's going to go. And we're mostly following just two characters, so there's not a whole lot of jumping around. So it should be pretty straightforward, quick. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk for another 4 hours this time. I'm not sure. I didn't come prepared for that. But I think I think it'll just be a little bit different kind of conversation. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because my notes and the things that I want to talk about are spurred on by the episode, but not necessarily about the episode. Yeah. It's just more of like questions about like parenthood and, how can we do better? Things like that. These kinds of things, the questions that it brings up, which I just find so interesting,
Yeah.
So, that said, welcome. Glad we're here. Let's go over the general specifics of the episode. This has 3 credited writers. Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann, and Hallie Gross. Now we know Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross have been credited on the rest of the season. And I'm bringing this up because there's been a lot of controversy online about the writings of the show. And a lot of people saying things about whether or not they like this episode more or worse and why, right? And they keep blaming the writers. I think all of them are really great writers. And Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross have been involved in the rest of the show. And I'm glad they're here now. I don't know that they actually contributed any more than normal in my estimation. Because for the most part, things are beat for beat from the show, except for some things that are like combined or whatever, right? Okay. Obviously, you don't know that. You haven't played the game. I have played the game, right? You're coming in completely blind. I'm mostly jumping off of the criticism of things like right off of the bat, you know? And I think all of them are very talented. And I wish people would read the credits because people keep saying that this episode shows why Craig Mazin is a bad writer because Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross came on and wrote this episode. He wrote this episode. What are y'all talking about? Like, he's still involved and he's been doing an amazing job. So I have to push back on that. I don't understand this criticism, where it's coming from. Yeah. Neil Druckmann did direct this episode, which I think is great. I'm glad that he got to direct this episode. But I feel like people are taking out of context, like the credits and who's in control and all these kinds of things and switching things around. And it's really bothering me. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. But that said, why don't we just get into like our general thoughts of the episode overall? Yeah. And I kind of feel like where you are in terms of this episode, how you feel.
I'm a little bummed out.
Yeah.
Not my favorite episode. Mm-hmm. There's so much beautiful stuff in it. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with any particular scene in the episode. Mm-hmm. I think it's more that I felt like this season took a minute to get rolling and get some momentum and some steam behind it. And I was really feeling that at the end of last week's episode. Mm-hmm. And this episode kind of just took a lot of the wind out of the sails for me. And I think that's like just hearing just now that this episode is a compilation of all the flashbacks that you get piece by piece in the game along the way, instead of, one giant flashback. That makes sense, right? And I'm not saying I have a solution either. I don't know how you rectify, like, okay, we want all these pieces of information that Ellie, remembers over the course of her journey and that we get to see about Joel. Like, I get wanting that. I also get the difficulty in being like, and we can't just put one every 18 minutes over the course of 6 or 7 episodes. I mean, maybe you could, but that also feels like takes a whole lot of finesse.
I think, like, I agree that there's some structural clunkiness happening when you put this episode, especially as the penultimate episode of a season, which usually typically for most shows or most series is, what's the plural of series? Series? Yeah. It's just series.
For today, it's series.
The penultimate episode of a season is usually some of the best stuff that's happening because it's like going into your climax. So all that buildup, everything kind of starts kind of coming together.
It crystallizes.
And that's not happening because, again, we're not telling the story. We're flashing back, like we're filling gaps. So we're not really following. We're not engaging with the story that was set up at the beginning of the season for the penultimate episode. I think if this episode comes and there's still 2 more episodes left, that might be a different feeling. Maybe, right? Yeah, I agree. But we only have 1 episode left. Or, granted, there is a whole other season that is part of the story, so we were never going to get closure on it anyway. But we are at a truncated season, and this feels like it's a big detour.
Yeah, and and maybe detour, yeah. But I think that there's another problem with the episode for me, and that's that it's not a flashback where, and then we learn these 6 things or 10 things about Joel and Ellie, and so now the final episode is going to feel all the richer. It's like we kind of already know that Ellie is pissed off and had a huge falling out with Joel, and we kind of already know that it's about the Fireflies and what happened in Salt Lake City, right? Mm-hmm. And so we get to see the literal conversations, or like some of the keyest moments that drove that wedge in between them, and then maybe a little reconciliation. But like, it's not exactly new information. Like almost everything that happens in the flashback is things that we've kind of put together through hearsay and other plot events, And it's not that it's bad. I mean, like for me, I think this episode was one of the most beautifully acted of the season. We can get to scene by scene stuff later, but like as the episode functions in the arc of the season of the story, I was kind of like, I was hoping that if we were going to do it all in flashback land, there would be more reveals, more surprises, more like, oh, that's what this thing was about, or oh, that's what was said, or whatever. And it's kind of all like, yeah, this is about, but what we thought happened.
This is an episode where I came away very mixed about it, because I do want to say that I loved this episode. Like I was emotional and like teary-eyed through majority of the episode for very specific reasons, And there's a lot of things that I did love about it. You said the performances, fucking great, and
stellar.
some of these scenes are just like really beautiful. And some of the things that they translated from game to show is just, especially these iconic moments. And I know that it took great care to translate them, and they did such a tremendous and amazing job, right?
Yeah.
It is, by all accounts, there's a lot of technical things going on. There's a lot of logistical things going on. There's a lot of emotional things happening. You're having to tell a lot. And I do think that they pulled it off. But I do think that there are a lot of problems with putting it all as one flashback episode near the end of the season. It's like, that's where I'm very mixed. And this is the first episode where I've poured over. It's not, I think, a coincidence that I saw multiple publications releasing interviews with the creators after this episode. Vanity Fair and Collider doing like interviews, so that because people clearly waited until after this episode to release these interviews, right? I had to like pour through those. I had to listen to the podcast. I listened to the behind the scenes. I'm trying to digest and figure out why they made the decisions they made, which I haven't had to do in past episodes, which just shows kind of like how mixed I am on it, because it feels weird and off to me because I didn't get the emotional catharsis that was promised to me last week.
Yeah.
Again, not to say that was a bad episode. I still enjoyed it, right? Looking back on it, once we get after season 3 and you're binge watching the show, this might be a very good episode that you want and you need. But it doesn't hit, as you said, we were just getting going. We were just getting on this like rage journey. And it's kind of like on the nose, like what this whole thing is about. Like we've talked about it. We've brought it up. Revenge bad. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
And like, but we haven't got enough revenge for us to get this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the balance of
we got a little revenge as a treat.
Yes, exactly. just a little bit. It's like, okay, we're not. I was listening to one of my favorite TikTokers. She hasn't done too many things about this season, probably for reasons. Mostly because talking about The Last of Us, as we found out, is hard and difficult, and the internet hates you for it. So it's, I don't blame her for not talking about it, but I loved her commentary on the first season. And Claire Wesson, if you're listening, love you. I was listening to her talking about this episode, which she had to talk about, and she talked about the difference between the writers and their priorities. When we're giving context, and the difference between the game and Hollywood is that Neil Druckmann probably in the game specifically focused on emotional honesty instead of contextual honesty.
Yeah.
Right. So in this episode is giving you the contextual honesty of like what happened. Whereas in the game, when these flashbacks are all spread out and I'm of course paraphrasing Claire a lot here. You should go watch this TikTok if you can find it. The emotional honesty, the emotional context is spread out because we are constantly in Ellie's like headspace. And you brought up again how like this, of course we're remembering what Ellie's remembering, and I don't think we are. I think it's literally just putting us in a emotional state, right? I don't think she's remembering any of this. I think it's literally context for us. Every flashback in the game, every flashback in the show is literally just for us, right? And so again, when we have that emotional honesty, the emotional catharsis from like last week's episode, to go from like she's in this like rage state and this thing of revenge, and then we get this feeling that she doesn't get, but we get, of this kind of like what I described as like a hug from Joel, that's us being in her emotional state. And this is how these flashbacks work, to kind of remind us of like where she is emotionally. And here it just becomes contextual honesty.
It's like connecting dots.
It's just like information.
Yeah.
Right. To the thing that I was thinking about whenever you were talking and even before I came over here, it's what's really weird to me is that on the surface, this is not this is a montage episode. Yeah. It's almost like a clip episode, a clip show from like a sitcom where they like had, they don't have time to give you a full episode. So they sit them down and they're like, oh, you remember when? And they do like clips and stuff like that. This is like just one giant montage. I feel like we don't get enough time with any real scene, any flashback to really take it in context of where Ellie's emotional state is at that time in her story. Does that make sense? Because it's all just happening all at once. Right. So, again, Claire's smarter than me, and has words that I'm just trying to kind of paraphrase and put it into our own like context and trying to understand like how I feel. And I think that's the best way that I can describe it. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job, but that's the thing is like, I don't think it's a bad episode. I think it's a really well-written episode. I think it's really well executed. And I love this episode for multiple reasons. I don't know that I love it as episode 6 of season 2.
Yeah.
Is really the whole thing.
I agree.
Which is why it's like really hard to...
I'm the same way. I was like, it's like nothing about the episode happening in the episode bummed me out. It was that we only get one more episode now this season, and that's what we're leaning into it with.
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
Yeah.
Like I don't know what happens in the next episode. I haven't played the game. I don't know what's coming next. But like immediately when the episode ended, I was kind of like, why now? Why can't we just take this whole episode and like make it season 3, episode 1? Just like a little more context for everything later after the fact. But I'm like, right now, it just doesn't feel like feels like it's taken away from the journey.
Yeah.
Slowing us down instead of speeding us up.
I have to say that, like, again, I also understand that like making TV shows are hard. making this show, making this adaptation, it's a big juggling act. It's a big puzzle. Like, do you do it exactly like the game? Do you not? And like, can you do it exactly like the game? There's a whole lot of things in the air, and I have no idea.
Well, that was my question for you at the beginning, is that I want to know.
Yeah.
Is this an example where you think they tried to format it for television and it actually didn't serve the story? Where like the structure of having flashbacks throughout might have gotten less in the way of the journey and actually created a more poignant, richer moment? Is that possible, do you think?
This is one of the things where I think yes. I think they tried to structure themselves in the way that they thought it would work for like non-game viewers.
Yeah.
There's a specific scene that happens at the end of the episode that isn't supposed to happen till the end of the game. The porch scene is added in, and it doesn't come until the end of the game. And there's multiple people. It's definitely one of those things where I understand why they did it. And I looked up like even in the behind the scenes, like right after the episode, they mentioned like why they had to bring the scene in. It's because you don't want to wait. It's going to be 2 years before they make season 3. And now I'm seeing that they're talking about the season 4, like Craig Mazin's thinking about that. And it's like, can you wait for when you're playing a game for like 40 minutes? 40 minutes, 40 hours, and like in multiple sittings, and you kind of get through it like all at once. You're kind of taking it all in. That makes sense. But can we stretch that out and not give people this kind of like context again? Like there's things that they did change specifically for Hollywood. I'm going way far away from your question. So yes, I think that they specifically tried to make this for a TV audience for very specific reasons. But I do think that even if they had just done the thing and split up the flashbacks would have been better, or even if they did this and then the next episode is actually 2 episodes, because I can see where they can split next episode into 2 episodes, and there's no reason why they had to do it all in one, right? And there's a whole lot that's probably going to get packed in just because I know the story, and it feels like maybe potentially having Brett given us this episode at a different time in the structure of the season might have worked better, but I don't know, and maybe it's one of those things where like, I don't know. Is this just how things are when we as an audience like are experiencing something that we are already very familiar with, right? Like, can you enjoy this as it is? Or can we machete cut this? And okay, we can, if we in our head, in our rewatching of things, just switch things around in terms of when we rewatch it.
Yeah.
Is it great? Do you know the machete cut? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
The machete cut of Star Wars is a very famous way of watching Star Wars. When the prequels came out, everyone talked about like, okay, well now which way do we watch them? Do we watch from episode 1 to episode 6? Right. Do we watch episode 4 to 6 and then 4, go 5, back 6, to, what do we do? Sure. Right. And the machete cut is, okay, start with 4, go to episode 5. When you get after episode 5 and you do the Darth Vader reveal, like I am your father.
Spoiler alert.
Then you go to episode 1, 2, and 3, and then you come back to Return of the Jedi.
Sure, that's cool.
That's one way to view things, and for some people, that helps them engage with the show, the movies better, right? And can we not, in our own way, decide? Well, when I do a marathon of this show for whatever reason, I want to hurt myself in the future, right? Can I skip this episode or maybe bring it in earlier or bring it in at the, what I'm saying? Or before season 3 or whatever, right? Well, does it still work because it is all contained in a bottle episode? Yep. You can take it out of your viewing. Can that work?
Yeah,
right?
I was saying, I was going to say, I pitched it a second ago as the first episode of season 3. Sure. I could see it as an epilogue to this season.
Yeah.
I could also see it literally being episode 3, where Joel dies in the second episode, and then all of episode 3, forget the morning, forget, Ellie's trauma in the hospital for a couple months and all that. And so the first thing we get after he passes is filling in the backstory of why Ellie and Joel haven't been right the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But by getting to it in 6 now, we're like, we've had enough bits and pieces, and Ellie has said enough to other characters. I mean, she said literally, we found out that she told Nora, I know what Joel did. Right. So like we kind of already know almost everything in the flashback by that point. So yeah. My vote is episode 3.
That's the
It
thing.
should
Is
have
like,
been episode
even
3.
if you don't even do it all at once, you can like re-edit it in your head. Maybe you can go back and forth, and you can can kind of structure it exactly like you want it in the game. So in that sense, I'm like, I don't know that I have that big of a problem with it all being lumped in one episode. I think because this is how we're viewing it, and this is how it's being presented to us. Yeah, it's kind of a problem. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I want to like watch again, if I don't like the last scene, which comes at the very end of the episode, and is typically at the end of the game, I can just stop before that scene. Yeah. And then like come back to it if I want that same emotional catharsis. If you want to present it to people who are watching this for the first time, you can be like, you can kind of re-edit it in your own way and do that if you want to. Is like, and the game also exists. So it's kind of weird because I know I'm gotten to the point where I'm like defending it. I don't think we should have to do the gymnastics to kind of do that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know that I need to be that mad at them for doing this, because at the end of the day, I'm also glad that they gave us what they did, you know? Yeah. I don't know. And they gave us extra too, you know, which we'll get into, right? That I didn't know or had no context for, you know? And so in terms of, I think it could have worked better as a season thing, and being in one season had it just come at a different time. Or if there were like a couple more episodes after, and that's my main thing, you know. But as its own episode, I think I'm still fine with it, you know. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of talking about just like the structure of the episode. So
that's kind of the meat of the conversation, though. I think that like we're gonna do some sort of play-by-play here, but like the play-by-play isn't the rub on this episode. The rub on this episode is why now. It makes sense to me that this is what we're talking about. But
do you have a feeling of like why now? Maybe. Or is that something that later on you want to discuss? Okay.
No, we can say now. It's just I'm cynical. I'm like I'm afraid. It feels so.
To me, the why now is literally what I said last week. Was the emotional catharsis.
Yeah,
and that's literally it. But I don't feel like we got as much to get this, you know?
I don't think that there's actually that much catharsis in this episode. No. And I also think that like, I hate to talk about it, but I think it's like they're dangling Pedro and like, okay, we took you for 2 or 3 episodes since he's been gone. We're going to give you the sprinkle of Pedro just so you make it through the end of the season kind of thing. Like I thought I'm a little more cynical.
I thought him being spread out throughout the entire season was going to feel more like, for people who haven't played the game, feel more like, oh, he just came in for these cameos now, you know? So I almost like that they put them all in like one episode. So it's like, you don't keep teasing him and then taking him away again for us. Which is just interesting.
I know what you mean. Yeah. But like if they had taken episode 6, the one we're talking about, and chopped it up into 10 or 15 minute sequences and spliced those throughout the other 6 episodes in the season, then I don't think it's going to feel like cameos. You don't feel like it's a huge tease.
Okay.
I don't think it feels like cameos then, because it's like, dude, like the museum sequence is gorgeous and beautiful and involved. The sequence at the dance is like, oh, and we get the second perspective that we were looking for. When we learn about, you know, Eugene and how he went down, it's like, I don't think it feels cameo-esque. I feel like they're pretty rich scenes. It's just,
I think that they should have spread this out. I know, keep harping on it. We should move on, but I do agree. I think they should have spread this out. This episode literally should have just been a museum, and one other scene that didn't happen, but they combined with another scene. Okay, so the scene where he reveals like what happened with the fireflies, right? Yeah, that should have been the emotional catharsis of this episode, and it could have been just as beautiful. It's just give us the museum, give us them having their conversation, and why she's mad at him. And don't even do Eugene or any of that stuff. Save that for other episodes. Like that could, you know. But again, visually, I don't know if it makes sense for the telling of the show or the series. I don't know. I don't know why they decided to do it. But that, I probably could have been one way or another. And especially because the museum needed so much more. We'll get to that though. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Let's talk about the cold open.
The cold open of the flashback.
Flashback things are so hard. There's 2 things I know I'm still talking about it. There's 2 things I don't like in like shows, and it's voiceover
Okay.
and flashbacks.
Wow. This is a strange thing to admit to after the conversation we've just had.
The thing is, like, in this, I think the game did it very, very well.
Yeah.
Like flashbacks, right?
Sure.
Because they're not flashbacks. It's not like they're not literal flashbacks. They're just
Memories.
for us. You know, it's like it's a moment we didn't get, or it's a moment we missed.
Yep.
It's filling in like gaps, right? Flashbacks and movies and stuff tend to like be like a restructuring of what you remember, you know, kind of thing, or something, or like a reveal of
it's
like
usually
whatever.
a reveal of new information that
like,
paints the current situation
or it's
in
like
a different light.
Or it's very much like exposition. I usually don't like flashbacks, but this is decent flashbacks. But we do get cold open, a flashback with Joel that is not something that is in the game.
The baby Joel.
We get a baby Joel.
Yeah.
We get a baby Joel and a baby Tommy.
He's probably 15. Or something like that. 17.
I would assume like around the same age as Ellie, because like why not, right?
Like I think we
actually
know
he looks like 13 or 14. I would say like he's just above. He's just becoming a man kind of situation.
Like very young, but also like dad gives him a beer, and younger brother was trying to buy pot. So I'm like, I don't think they're like 9. Like I think they're like supposed to.
No,
be
I didn't say 9.
Like,
I think like 13 or 14.
Well, I was gonna say he's like 15 or 16, and Tommy is like 13 or 14.
I see. Maybe.
Because I don't think Tommy's buying pot at 10.
What is
maybe, or he was. But
what is their age gap? I don't know. Anyway,
in my mind, it's like 4 years.
In the 80s, though, who knows? Everyone's getting.
It's true, dude. Different world. At least they weren't buying blow. Thanks, Ronald Reagan.
What do you think of baby Joel and Tommy?
But that was good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is embarrassing. I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who they casted.
Oh, I know the actor's name because at first,
as soon as
he drives in, he walks in. I'm like, who's playing the dad?
Yeah.
Who's playing the dad? And it's Tony fucking Dalton.
Yeah.
And I like just about leapt out of my seat. I was like, just, you know what? I don't even want The Last of Us anymore. I just want this. Because Tony
Breaking
Dalton.
Bad, but it's the 80s, and now he's on the other side of the law.
Tony Dalton, I want in more things. And I should have looked this up. I don't know if they were in Narcos together. So it's like kind of like a fun you know, like mixing of worlds, you know, Pedro and him being in Narcos. But we do know Tony from Better Call Saul, and also he plays the swordsman in the Daredevil and the
Is he in Breaking
Hawkeye.
Bad? He's in Breaking Bad too?
Better Call Saul.
It's just Better Call Saul?
Yeah, he doesn't his character doesn't show up in Breaking Bad.
Gotcha.
And he does a tremendous job. If you haven't seen him in Better Call Saul, please go watch, because now you know why I'm so excited.
Great.
This is a get. If there's ever been a get, this is a get. Actually, there's 2 gets this episode, because not only does Tony Dalton show up, but Joey Pants is what they call him. Joey Pantalia, whatever. Joey tastes like chicken pants is what I call him, because if you understand the reference, they got 2 gets for this episode. It's
pretty sick.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, Tony Dalton shows up, and it's these are the kind of things. This is a little bit about me. I didn't grow up with a father. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5. And for some reason, the scariest things in media was always like the father figures, the drunk father figures. There's something super like traumatizing about that. I remember, if anyone is old enough to remember, watching a movie called Radio Flyer. And things like that.
I know Radio Flyer.
There's something visceral remembering. Like, these are my horror movies. Like, I don't get scared by Poltergeist or It or anything like that. I get scared by these kind of things. So when he walks in, like, my inner child is already like that feeling of you know, what is this guy going to do? You know, like what kind of trauma are these kids dealing with? And I'm already like feeling very like tight, you know, about like what's happening.
Absolutely.
You know? But yeah, we see that Tony Dalton comes in. Jay Miller. Is Joel Miller a junior? Or is this Johnny Miller? Or is this Joseph Miller? Or
I don't know.
Juan Miller? Because it is Mexican, obviously. So I don't know. Was that stereotypical? I didn't mean it to sound that way, but it is Jay Miller, and they're clearly a Mexican family. So I don't know what the J stands for. Yeah. I didn't know Joel was a junior potentially, but Yeah, he comes in.
But I mean, it seems like also makes sense why he wouldn't talk about it if he is.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And he sends Tommy to the room and says, "No, I'm going to get the belt. This is on me."
He's taking the heat.
They're seeing the protective instincts of Joel already from the very beginning, especially for his brother, especially for Tommy.
And his hatred for authority.
And the hatred for authority. Does he have a hatred for authority? He seems like a very big authority figure. I don't know.
Seems like I think of Joel as someone who makes his own rules. And anytime someone else tries to tell him the way to do things, he's very much like, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
But, Well,
that's the thing about like parenthood, right? Is that they kind of instill in you certain types of morals and stuff. And I'm thinking, what do you think Jay Miller has passed down to Joel in this way?
I mean, yeah.
To me, it was a revelation to see or hear that, violence runs in the family.
Yeah. I mean,
the outburst specifically, not necessarily violence. Like Joel's not he's a violent person, but it's these violent outbursts, right?
Yeah.
It's these reasons to be violent, right?
Yeah.
He just doesn't rage for no reason kind of thing. But that this runs in the family.
Yeah. And I mean, also just kind of like that old school is a polite way of saying it, but kind of like a toxically masculine kind of closed off energy that is like very clearly suppressing a lot of feelings.
Yeah. Well, clearly must be single father.
Seems like it.
Mother doesn't seem to be in the picture. I don't know if we ever knew why. But yeah, mother's not in the picture.
Yeah.
And a cop.
The fact that he's a cop was a huge surprise to me, but then I was like, of course, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, ugh.
Yeah.
Just paints like, it does paint like anything that he, like any scene with Fedra in a very different light for me after that.
Any scene with like anything. Yeah. There's, like you said, this is authority or just this aversion to this kind of like structure.
Yeah.
But why do you think Mr. Miller goes into this story of his father and what it is?
Well, I mean, like the scene sets up that, Joel is trying to take the heat for Tommy.
Yeah.
And Dad immediately comes in and is like, don't bullshit me, And basically Joel's like, okay, well, if you're going to hit me, then hit me, just kind of get it over with or do it. Or like, he's like, my dad used to like hit me too. Right. And he's like, then you should know like why it hurts or whatever. And it seems like the point of the story for Mr. Miller is like, hey, if you think I'm bad, my father, your grandfather, was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just trying to be a little better than him. Mm-hmm. And the goal is, this is the line that comes up at the end of the episode, but he's just trying to impress upon his son that perfection is not an option. It's just trying to improve a little bit from how you were raised or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's the point of the story. It's weird. I mean, it's like, it's an uncomfortable scene. Can you imagine if your dad's a cop and you're like, you're like 16, he like sits down, cracks 2 beers and like tells you this weird story about the time that your grandpa broke his jaw. Like, ugh, what a weird family environment. It's not.
Yeah. There's like an animosity from Joel. And I think Tommy too, like Dad doesn't seem very loving or caring, right? There's a adversary feeling that I'm getting. They're like little standoff at this like kitchen table. From the sound design too, like that door like slams, right? Yeah. And every footstep, you hear every single footstep as he's coming up there, right? This feels like a villain. This is like a boss for little Joel, young Joel.
I mean, Tommy's scared shitless too, right?
Yeah.
Tommy runs away.
Yeah.
Goes to his room.
Yeah.
Like,
And so it's weirdly manipulative to have your villain be like, to justify his actions,
to be like,
to having like punished or hit you.
Be like, hey, I'm not that bad. You know, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's
that
weird.
does feel weird and off, you know? I have a certain amount of empathy towards single parents. As I said, I didn't grow up with a father. I grew up with a single mother, and it's hard. I think it's hard probably raising two boys as a cop, especially when he's like, you guys could be in jail. If you weren't my sons, you could be in jail.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of respect that he gives Joel in this moment, because I think it's one of the first times he's ever stood up for him. He's also taking the brunt of the blame for Tommy. I think that he clearly sees that Joel did this and has had violent fights before, but this is the first time he did it in protection of his brother.
Totally. And to your point,
Yeah.
I see the beers as also a sign of respect.
Yeah.
Right? He like literally grabs a beer and puts it on the counter to a teenage boy. And I'm not saying it's like, you can't give a teenager alcohol. It's so dangerous. Like it's the 80s. It's a different time. And also it's like a beer. But I think it's irresponsible parenting. But the bigger point is that like, this is this cold, old school man's way of being like, hey, let me level with you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's actually talk about how I parent and how I learned to parent. But yeah.
Yeah. I think unfortunately it comes a little bit too little too late.
For sure, dude.
For Joel.
Look how Joel turned out.
Yeah. I think that it's one thing. Like again, that's the thing. Giving us Tony, I love Tony. And there's something about him being here that makes me want to be like, oh, you're trying your best. You know? But at the end of the day, it's like, it is kind of manipulative. It is very, he never really apologizes for it. And there's no indication that he's going to stop.
No, it's not even over, right?
Yeah.
It's not even like that he's let it go.
Yeah.
He just stopped home on a 30-minute break to find out what the fuck is going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that there's any promise of no violence.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them's getting the belt when he's done with his shift.
Maybe not tonight. I don't think so. I think maybe he'll let this one go.
Maybe. Okay.
But you know, the next time we don't really hear much about this father figure, which is an invention for the show, to be fair. So who knows what they want to do with this, but we don't hear from him. So I assume that there's going to be a huge falling out here. Yeah. That this only brings Tommy and Joel closer together, which is why they are so close, which is why Joel really, really wanted to find Tommy in the first season. That it kind of like helps us to recontextualize like why Joel is the way he is too, because there's a constant feeling that if he doesn't protect, if he doesn't stand up, if he doesn't do these things, that violence is going to happen and he's going to lose people close to him. This is what starts that programming, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just like aversion to authority.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a cause of triggers over and over and over again. Sure. Right? What can he trust? Right? He's learned to trust himself. He's learned to trust Tommy. He's cannot even put weight. Like he knows he's going to have to fight. He knows that he's also being taught here that this was essentially like a good thing to stand up for his brother, which is what keeps pushing him to just go farther and farther if he can justify it, right? When your father justifies this and justifies why he's saying, then this is what Joel does. He justifies, I saved her, right? Because if you do it for a righteous cause, if you do it for a reason, and you're just trying to be a better person, there's a mixed up feeling. I don't think that's the intention of the writers when they wrote this scene. But that to me is like, I don't know if it's coming from like, I didn't grow up with a father, so I don't know. But this feels not good to me. As much as I love the scene and I love Tony and I love getting an idea of like who Joel is, I don't think I'm getting the good. I don't think Joel got a good lesson here. And I don't think it gives us a good lesson here. Do you know what I'm saying?
I agree that I don't think Joel got a good lesson, and I don't think that it gives us a good lesson, but I do think that was the writer's intent.
That they want it to feel manipulative, and they don't want him to come off in a good way. Probably.
For sure.
I hope so, because I feel like, I do. Yeah, maybe I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this father, but I also don't like fathers that much, you know.
Oh, I'm not saying he's a good father. Just to be clear, bad father for sure. Yeah. I think
there's some sort of like good, like, oh, he's letting down his wall. He's giving his kid something. He's actually not gonna like be violent or something. Also, like in my head, I was like, oh, did he do a good thing here? Is that what we're supposed to get? That he did a good thing for once? That he didn't do the thing that he normally does, and he's trying? And I that's where I guess I'm not sure, because I don't get that at all.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I don't know what their intention was in that sense.
Yeah.
But to me, it is very much this it's not a bad guy, but I don't know he's actually doing better. I don't know he gave Joel the right programming. You know?
Yeah, and I would say he for sure didn't.
Yeah. But love seeing Tony Dalton.
Yeah, he's great. It's a fucking like weird ass emotional speech, and the fact, you know, he's got the like tear coming out of his eye.
Yeah.
And but it's also, like you're saying, so like manipulative. It's weird. Like it's definitely fascinating. But yeah. I guess
as for me for the audience, just because you see a grown man cry doesn't mean he's doing a good thing.
Correct. Yeah, very correct.
I really, really want to talk more about like parenthood and fathers and mothers and just in general, like how you treat your kids and stuff, because I have a lot of opinions, but that can also be saved for later conversations. This is just the start of that. Did you notice before we leave when he put his hand on his shoulder, what he was wearing on his wrist?
I'm guessing a watch.
The watch.
Is it the watch?
It's the watch, yeah.
Cool.
So I was a little bit mistaken on this. I had to be educated by the internet, because from what I remember of the game, she bought the watch.
I thought she definitely bought the watch.
But I remember now in the
she
show,
had it fixed, but it wasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing.
In
the show, she fixed it, right? So this is
Yeah.
Joel's father's watch. Probably the one thing that he's kept around, and it hasn't worked for years. And I feel like that's got to be a weird set of emotions. Like he probably never had intentions of fixing this watch.
Yeah.
Or ever seeing it again. But there is something beautiful that the watch itself becomes a symbol of the recontextualizing of his feelings for this, right? That it was a symbol of something that he probably feared and didn't like and put away and never worked, and he had no intentions of fixing. And then once it became a gift that she put so much effort, Sarah, to fix it and give it to him as a birthday gift and cared so much about him, it takes on new meaning. And obviously we know the meaning of it after it becomes broken again and why he keeps it around. And I don't think the watch reminds him at all of his father anymore. Like literally it's just Sarah.
Yeah.
And it's weird how like an object can kind of do that, you know?
Sure.
Again, this is a show invention, so I'm adding things in there. It's probably, you know, whatever they were intending. But yeah, that's what it was. So that's our cold open. We get the credits. Did you notice?
Ellie and Joel are back.
We get the two figures.
Yes, I did notice.
If you've been paying attention for the past few episodes, ever since Joel's death, it's just been one figure. And now we get both of them back. Probably for the last time. I don't think we're going to have two figures ever again.
Hot take.
As we talked about,
Called shot.
As we talked about at the beginning of this episode, this is an episode of flashbacks. Every single flashback with Joel is in this episode.
Yeah.
I do not recall anything else, bar maybe some PTSD, like flashback to something like we had in episode 3, where Joel would appear, but this is it.
Yeah.
Pedro is going to go play Fantastic Four or Reed Richards, and I don't think he's coming back. Who knows? I don't know what they can write for the game or for the show, but this might be the last time we see Joel and those two figures. So
yeah.
Embrace it, I guess. Moving on to our first scene, our first flashback. Well, it's for the most part, everything includes Joel and Ellie, but this first scene actually includes Joel and Seth.
Our favorite.
Are you surprised, Morgan, to find out that Seth was also a cop?
To the surprise of nobody. Of course. It's hilarious because it's like our context of Seth up until this point in the series is like Seth is like a sandwich maker and like a prep cook or something. Mm-hmm. And then in this immediate entrance, it's like cop, bartender. And I'm like, yes, this makes sense for Seth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, not surprised at all.
I think I was more surprised to find out that he's a grandfather.
Yeah, for sure.
He has kids.
Yeah.
Grandkids. And he cares a lot about them. And he uses Joel for what Joel does best. He smuggles some things in. He's smuggling some Legos. Of course, he puts it in that Ziploc bag, just like he's delivering drugs or something. Yeah. But it's Legos. Got the goods, right? Dude. And Seth also like gives Joel things, right? Mm-hmm. He's a good baker, apparently.
Yeah, well, not a speller, just a baker.
Well, at this point, it's only been 2 months, so he doesn't remember Ellie's name at this. Like, what was the name that was supposed to put on the cake?
Yeah, maybe he didn't remember. Sure.
Yeah. I don't think he's being a jerk, right?
No, for sure.
But yeah. I think like. I have thoughts later on when we encounter Seth, but it's at least good to know that they had some like decent interactions and that Seth was providing services, that he is he's a value to this like community in more ways than one. He's actually an interesting guy, but there is, I think, a little bit of animosity between Joel knowing that Seth was a cop,
I mean, there's definitely a moment where he's like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, so we go to our first, these flashbacks are set up always on like Ellie's birthdays, right? So it's very much a ongoing theme. So this is the first year.
I think this was her birthday. 16th birthday in the show. Is that right?
It would be her 15th.
15th? Okay.
Yeah.
Got
15th birthday because she was 14 in the first season.
Yeah.
It's her 15th birthday.
Okay.
And it's only been a few months since they got here.
2, I think he says, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
very, very fresh.
Yeah. So they're fully settling into this new lifestyle and then embracing it in a way. Mm-hmm. So he goes and finds, well, first he goes home, sees if Ellie is there, and then goes to work on one of his many gifts, which is building a guitar.
Which is crazy.
Great skill to have.
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
I don't think I would know how to build a guitar.
It's hard. I play guitar. It is very hard. I mean, like, especially because, like, look, like, you can, even just knowing how to manipulate wood and bone enough to do it, impressive, right?
Yeah.
But, like, to literally set a neck and so that the bridge and whatnot make the strings close enough that you can push them down on the frets without being so close that they buzz and level, it's quite difficult. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially like, look, there's guys that do it at Guitar Center now. They have all the technology in the world. That's their full-time job. Figuring out how to do that shit with whatever post-apocalyptic tools they have in Jackson, I'm like, come on, dude. It's very, very difficult.
To be fair, we don't know that he built it from scratch.
He does say he fixed it up. He didn't build it from scratch.
Yeah.
But like,
the
even
bone is like inlaid and he does the Dremel thing, which
with the moth. And I'm like, dude, it's super fucking cool.
Yeah. Joel's got some skills.
Yeah, dude.
Could have been a musician or a carpenter, and
very good gift giver.
Yeah. Oh, I want to get more into that later. But before he, or I guess after he finishes, Tommy comes in, something happened, and he's like, oh, don't worry, it's just painkillers. She's talking nonsense, right? And you find out that she burned her
Bite
arm,
mark.
her bite mark, on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not a coincidence. I know she's on drugs, and we don't get the real story of like why she did it per se. I don't think it's a coincidence that she does it on her birthday or the day before her birthday.
No.
I think, right? Something clearly on her mind, and what did she say? I thought about it and I did it.
Yeah. She also said it smells like pork. It's such like a lovely written line where I'm like, yeah, of course, some 15-year-old girl that just popped a bunch of painkillers and then burned herself says something weird and unhinged like that. I laughed. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah. Painkillers, man, have got to be like such a commodity in this world. How many did they give her?
I did not think about that. I didn't think about that at all. Yeah.
I'm thinking like they gave her a lot of painkillers for a place that probably doesn't have a lot of painkillers.
Yeah.
But yeah, is it the next day or later on that day that we find that? I think it's the next morning, right? That the cake gets delivered
because she like goes to sleep and then wakes up. Yeah.
So this is the scene, right? So they get the cake. And he's like, I got one more gift for you. He gives her the guitar. And she asks him to play.
Yeah.
This is the thing that probably shouldn't have spoiled for you last week, but
no, you're right.
As I said, this is him singing the song.
Yeah.
Doing the thing. How do you feel about this?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
It didn't connect with me as much, but I not to sound cold because we can talk about the song all you want.
Yeah.
But right after, Joel has this moment with Ellie where he's just like, hey, like, I understand about your arm. I understand why you did it.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, kiddo. That got me. Because it's like that is just so like dad trying to connect with teenage angsty daughter and being like, I actually understand your active rebellion, but it's like awkward kind of, even though he's so sincere and on the nose about it. And that was my favorite part of the birthday sequence.
Do you think he understands?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
He knows it's about the bite mark.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. It's only been a couple of months. I think, he's able to put two and two together.
Yeah.
I think
he figured it out.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't.
Yeah.
Right. That makes it all the more tragic. If he doesn't even exactly know, but just wants her to feel supported and like he's on her side and still says it. That's also would have gotten me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I got way earlier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. We got to talk about this. I'm emotionally dead. Mattias gets got by this highly emotional and vulnerable show a lot more often than I do. And I'm working on it.
If we're all I'm saying is if we're going to do a counter of how many times I got teary eyed through this episode.
Oh, wow.
First one happens right here when he comes in and he says, I forget the context, but it's baby girl. And I was like,
Yeah.
Cause that's, I think that's the only time he said that in the first season. He must have used it on Sarah, I'm assuming. He does. It's when Sarah's dying.
Yep.
Right. And again, when he's hugging Ellie after David. David,
the cult leader, the cannibal cult leader.
I almost called him Nolan North because that's the actor. But yeah, after David saying, and it's gonna be okay, baby girl, all this kind of stuff. And so they hear it in a context that's not traumatic, and he's like, "Oh, Joel, you see her as your daughter."
Yeah,
that's when the waterworks start happening. But before that, I just have to bring it up because this is obviously like our podcast, and I've talked a whole lot about, Dina's preparedness and the things and triangulation all last week and all these kind of things. How dad coded is this talking about tools? Like I use a Dremel on the moth thing, but it could also be a saw, and like a kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. I understand exactly where Joel is in this moment because I'm like, yeah, no.
I mean, I think the writing.
I have no idea what he's saying, but I understand what he's saying. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, like 100%, dude. There is so much dad coded like dialogue in this episode in general.
Oh yeah,
where he's just like flustered, stammering facts, and then or like she says something that makes him uncomfortable, and he's just like, Jesus, God,
What a just a fun dad coded moment. We love a little bit of tool talk with Joel, right? Honestly, Joel, bring us some more tool talk. Wait a second, what's the you know what I'm talking about. Someone out there is old enough to know what I'm talking about, and the rest of you are, well, we figured it out.
No doubt.
Okay. Moving on from dad talk and future days. Obviously, I don't want to talk about the significance of the song because, like, it's obvious to me.
Pretty on the nose.
Yeah, if I ever were to lose you, okay, gotcha. But I do love that moment right after. Okay, two things. Side note, the only thing I ever think about whenever actors, especially the motion actors, when they're doing this for the game.
You mean motion capture?
Motion capture artists, or the actors are also like the motion capture artists as well. So they're voice actors. Anyway, how hard must it be to sing in character?
Oh, fucking impossible.
Because I'm sure Pedro can probably sing fairly decent. Maybe not a good singer. Who knows, right?
No, but
he has to sing in character.
Yeah, that was not Pedro singing. That was Joel singing.
That was Joel singing.
I refuse to believe that that's the way Pedro Pascal sings. No, absolutely not. Have you seen a clip of that man?
How hard must
outside The Last of Us? He's for sure not how he sings.
Yeah. So
he posts a video of himself dancing and singing to some like disco tune every week on Instagram or whatever. That is not Pedro doing Pedro.
Yeah. I believe that this is the greatest feat an actor can do. It's like one thing is like I'm doing a dialect, I'm doing an accent, I'm being in this character, all these things. Now you want me to sing as this character? That's different because people already in normal life sing differently than they talk or do whatever. So it's like, how does this character sing? Yeah. So yeah, good on Joel. Does a really good job.
I agree.
Well, a decent job according to Ellie. Not too bad.
But that's the point, right? Is that he's like he didn't want to sing. He just wanted to show her how to play the guitar, and then he has to use his voice, and he's like,
She said, well,
what?
That didn't suck.
Yeah.
But that little moment of like, Ellie, I think you love him.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you like your daddy Joel. That came out really wrong, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There is that little tinge of that like glisten in her eyes. She's like, oh, like you did this thing for me. She has like these moments all throughout the episode. Bella like puts these like little moments of like me for me.
Yep.
You're like stop, it's so cute, so adorable. And like, I think you love him, Ellie, don't say you don't. Next scene is, as I've already mentioned, should have been the entire episode. And we get into like the museum, right? Yeah. This is the thing that is like one of the most iconic things in the game.
Why is it iconic in the game? Tell me about it.
It just is, and they talk about it in the behind the scenes, talking about it in the podcast. Is like it just becomes iconic because it is just the moment that stands out. And this is, I think, probably where the game puts the flashback is like after the Nora thing, and it is just the museum stuff. And it is a big moment of like catharsis. Like the guitar scene happens at the beginning of the game.
Okay.
That he taught her to play, there is, so that's why like there are things here, like as she's delving deeper and deeper into the depths of, going down to hell, so to speak, the red light down to the basement, all this kind of stuff. And she's as you mentioned before, debasing herself, becoming a different person altogether. And then you get this scene of 5 years before or 4 years before.
Sure.
Right. And it's just, as Neil Druckmann has mentioned time and time again, the happiest you're ever going to see them is in this moment. And there's so many like fun things that you're going to do. But it does feel like it's like a return to the first game, even though you're playing as Ellie. There's this idea of like it's back to
it's Ellie and Joel again.
It's getting exactly what you were wanting, right? What you kind of came to this game, what you came to this season for, and it's the first time you're like really, really getting that.
Yeah.
And it's like this moment of innocence. It's just, like I said, a whole lot of catharsis from previously. And yeah, I think it really is just about like, not the scenes themselves are not quite as iconic, but it is just the way that it happens and contextualizing of like the game and how it happens. It just becomes like the thing that you remember.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about the game, like this is the thing that like stands out. Like I remember doing this journey.
Sure.
And it starts with like going with the dinosaur. Like you're actually like playing it. It's not just a cutscene, right?
Yeah.
So you
like walk up on
playing as Ellie, and like you can decide to go. Well, first of all, like they cut this out for the show completely, but you know, Ellie at the end of the first game like doesn't know how to swim. And you have to swim to get to this museum. So now you're swimming, and you realize Joel taught you how to swim.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, you know. And then like if you linger long enough, you can go climb on the dinosaur, and then here Ellie climbs on the dinosaur. It's just so like beat for beat, moment for moment. It's like things that you can do, and you want this moment because you've just been going through like so many hard things as Ellie, and now you're like, I just want to play here and be here, and it's just me and Joel.
Yeah.
So yeah, that said, it is a little truncated. They cut it down like quite a bit. There's a lot more that happens.
Yeah.
I'm also a little disappointed to hear from the podcast that they built a whole lot more to this museum, which is almost like exactly like it was, if not exactly like it was like in the game. Again, these sets that they're doing for this, they had like they built a whole entire rover. They had like actual like dinosaurs. There's a whole mechanic in the museum when you get there where Ellie gets a hat somewhere at the front, and she also gets a little pamphlet, and she's like counting off like facts about dinosaurs as she's getting around to them, and she has a hat that she's wearing, and then every now and then she'll like put the hat on a dinosaur if you decide to interact with the dinosaur, and she's like, nope, that doesn't work, and then that becomes a joke like over on until like finally Joel's able to like put the hat on a dinosaur, like, yep, that one works. And it's such a cute little thing. We don't get any of that, but they had these dinosaurs apparently built. And I'm so disappointed. I'm like, can we get an extended version of this museum, please? Yeah. Can you bring it to us? Because like, why did you build it all and not give it to us?
I don't know. For what it's worth, though, I don't know if we're not getting it. Right? It wouldn't surprise me at all if there's some gut your fucking heart flashback moment in the next episode, just really quickly, where like Joel puts a hat on a dinosaur and looks at her and goes, that one worked, and they giggle and laugh, and then it goes back to reality. Like I'm just saying it could still happen.
I don't know. There's a lot of good puns as well, and we don't get the pun book back, but there's a lot of good puns that happen in this scene, and that's the one thing that I feel like that they should go to hell for this, for leaving out the puns. We could have had so many good dad puns, and you didn't.
Gold.
Yeah, obviously.
I will say,
I
need to apologize for something.
Are you ready to bring back Codependent Content apologizes for something we said last week that offended a lot of people? Section, which name TM pending.
It's time.
Asterisk. Okay, great.
On a past first episode of this podcast, I said I found it hard to believe
yes,
that Ellie knows about the Apollo 11 failure and space missions and such, and yet she hasn't heard of the pride flag. Clearly, the creators of the show heard me and gave us an 8 to 10 minute sequence where Ellie learns all about space. So thanks, guys. I'll shut the fuck up. Ellie has a reason to know about the Apollo 11 mission. Absolutely does.
She does. To be fair, and again, I defended this and I knew that this scene was coming.
Yeah.
So without spoiling anything, but also even in the scene, Joel mentions like, he's given her books. Like she knows this is something that interests her. Space interests her. And he's been hanging on to this for months.
Yeah.
Like he found this museum a long time ago.
Well, like he said, he had to like grease up the solar system to get it to work and stuff.
He said someone must have greased it.
And like make sure you could get the hatches open
Yeah.
on it's not a rover, but what do they go into? The thing that comes back into the atmosphere? There's a name for that, right?
Yeah, that's it's not the rover, it's the capsule.
The capsule, but they get in the capsule later. And like I'm sure that shit doesn't just like live unlocked. Like I'm sure Joel had to figure out how to pry that thing open.
That's another little moment where like Bella gives like he's like, oh, someone must have greased this in that dad Joel way, and then she's like, you didn't, you did this for me, it's like it's such a cute, oh my god, like you don't get that. And here's where I need to talk about something. The controversy, for some fucking reason, of Bella Ramsey being whatever age she is, sorry, Bella, and people being like, she looks too young. I keep doing this. They look too young to play Ellie in Last of Us 2, and they should have recast and all this kind of stuff. Like, did you forget that they have to do both in this one show? That she's able to go from I'm 15 to also go to I'm 19, 20 years old later on, all in the span of like one season. This is me defending Bella is still the best casting in everything that they do, from those little moments as Ellie and everything else. There's never a question of like what age they are along the timeline for me. And I just want to bring that. I just want to be very specific. It's like, I don't know what people's problem is with Bella Ramsey's age. They are playing the age that Ellie is. They are older than Ellie in the second season. Yeah. And yet they also have to play younger, and they do such a tremendous job every step of the way. Yeah. It's just all I want to say. I get really mad when people try and like on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you're one of the trolls out there that thinks you know an actor who's able to physically change their age 4 to 8 years on set every day, by all means, throw them out to some casting directors because they're going to work. But it's kind of ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, people are a certain age.
Acting is hard.
Yeah. It's like, I don't. Ugh.
And they are doing such a tremendous job. Oh, and that little moment of like, you grease the thing for me. So good. So amazing. So great.
Did you have more little moments within the space sequence of the museum?
There's a lot of little moments. I don't want to call all of them out, but there's definitely a lot of moments.
There's a little moment at the end of the museum sequence.
We have to talk about the capsule, though.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead. You want to? I mean, if you want to bring up the little moment, we have to talk about the capsule.
Yeah, no, we can talk about the capsule. It's very sweet.
I mean, the capsule is the thing.
Yeah,
the capsule is the thing from the game. Yeah, everyone remembers. You get all these moments throughout the museum. You even get like moments where you get to choose which helmet. Yeah. I think I chose the Russian cosmonaut helmet. She chose Gemini. Yeah. I don't know what that says. What's Ellie's horoscope? Can anyone tell me? I don't know. Is Gemini a horoscope? Anyway, it's an astrology sign, right? Yeah. So
it's the twins, right?
Yeah. So she chose a Gemini. I don't know what that says about anything, but you get these like cool little moments or whatever, and they go into the capsule. And that's just like part of the gift. Yeah. And she's just having fun. She's being a kid. She's like pretending. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know how this thing works. She doesn't even know that this is a thing that comes down. Yeah. Like this is a thing that brings them to space for all she knows. Yeah. This is she doesn't know how these things work. And that's what's so they bring up all the time in terms of the game and the show. Like, Ellie doesn't understand really any of this. She's pieced it together through books and maybe pictures and stuff like that, but she's just mesmerized by it.
I thought it was so cool too. This probably happens in the game too, that Joel finds somehow a recording on cassette of like the launch communications between the crew and I don't know.
I think he went to a library somewhere. Yeah. And in the archive somewhere where no one would go to, because what would anyone have to do in the apocalypse with like cassette tapes or whatever?
And even music, sure. But a recording of, the launch comms of an Apollo mission, probably not that sought after.
Yeah. And this is an undertaking. Like they talk about how they cinematography wise doing this, the lighting changes or whatever, it's all practical. There's no like CGI going on to help you change the lighting or whatever. They're doing this with 2 cranes and 2 different lights to give you this feeling of like her like lifting off or whatever. And this is Neil likes to bring this up over and over and over again. Like this is the scene that he showed Craig when they were talking about season 1 before they even plotted out season 2, before the game was even finished. He's like, let me show you a scene. And Craig's like, whatever we do in the future, this scene, everything in it stays exactly as we can, as perfect as possible. And it is. Cool. It literally is just almost beat for beat. When they get into this capsule, it's just from the game. And we talked about how adaptations are, and sometimes Last of Us does really good with adaptations. They're giving you the moment and they're not embellishing it or making it different or trying to do it for days. Like, no, it was fine the way it was before, and we're going to do it here, and it's fine the way it is here. And it's great. And the performances, though, are what make it even more special.
Agree.
And there's that one moment with Joel, with Pedro. I wrote down, Happy Ellie is my favorite Ellie. Just the same thing. There's this the ending of the moment with Joel, and he's like, did I do okay? And like before that, he's just watching her be Ellie, enjoying his life. He can't hear the recording. He's not seeing this lighting change or doing whatever. He's just watching. And there's tears of happiness going down Joel's face. You don't get in a video game. You just get that from Pedro.
Yeah.
You get that from this visual medium. And it's so beautiful. And I think to myself, wow, he did absolutely everything for her. He gave everything he could. He put so much on the line. He sacrificed everything just to give whatever he could to her. This is more than he even gave for his own birthday with Sarah. When, he forgot, I don't remember the first scene, but like there's talk about like he forgot to go get flour or do all this kind of stuff, right? Like he's just like absent-minded or whatever. And like, this is a redo for him. And he's able to, this is her 16th birthday. And so it's not the first one, but I'm just like noticing like how much Joel is giving to the single person. And in my head is justification. This is going to sound really mean. This is justification for killing him later on. Because to me, this one scene, this one moment shows Joel's story was done.
He's reformed.
Joel, as a character, the arc that he went on in season 1 accomplished everything. He went through it and he got everything he needed to learn. Right. And he went through it. And this is his resolution of him putting aside his selfish tendencies or whatever and just giving everything he could to one singular person, to be a father again, to be a human again, to love someone again, to be vulnerable again. That's everything all in this like one performance with Pedro. And that's it. Like, that's this, again, the counter that I'm crying again. It was baby girl first, and now it's here when I'm seeing Joel cry.
Yeah.
And I just love that moment all wrapped up into this whole thing. And he says, did I do okay? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Joel, you did great. You did amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, again, can't say enough about Bella and their performance in that moment of like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Just perfectly delivered. But yeah, yes, Joel, you did okay. What was that one moment after this that you wanted to?
Well, at the end of the whole sequence,
Yeah.
right? There's like they're riding out on horses, and it seems like they've had
The
a
Firefly.
great day.
Yeah.
And Joel's like, this reminds me of old times. I wish should do this more often or whatever. And then, and then Ellie seems conflicted. We know why. And then there's the fireflies that she sees. Okay.
I think that was like for a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
She had never thought about it. She had forgotten about, and and this was the writers and the showrunners' way of being like planting the seed for Ellie and for us to be like, when did because you're doing fine, you're doing great. This could be your life.
Yeah.
But then you have to come back to reality.
Sure.
And her reality is that something's not right. It's the fireflies. She probably hasn't heard about the fireflies in a long time.
Yeah.
In at least a year and a half. And this plants a seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was bummed out that there was physical fireflies.
Well, you thought it was going to be like a spray painting or?
No, I think it's too on the nose. I would have been way happier. I think I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, and there's just a fucking group of fireflies right there, right then. I was kind of like, I almost wanted Ellie to like maybe not have that physically and not fully understand why she isn't okay and why she's just like, why am I not perfectly happy with you, Mr. Amazing Makeshift Dad?
Yeah.
And the actual physical fireflies to me, I was like, come on, guys. We all know.
I liked it. I liked that it becomes like that it's more, I guess, subtle reminder for her. It's convenient for us, yes, because it's fireflies. But I think it makes sense that it'd be, because if I recall, and I'm just now remembering this. I did not write this down. I didn't remember it while I was watching it. If I recall, actually, she does run into spray painting in the museum. They get separated, and she does run into like a firefly logo.
Oh, okay.
And that is something that becomes like whatever happened to that. Yeah. And I'm just now remembering that. So I kind of do like it better being like fireflies here now that I think about it. But I don't know. I thought it was a good moment. I think, but at the end of the day, I think it's kind of a seed for her, but I think it's more of a visual for us too, as an audience, right?
Yeah. I just think the visual of her kind of being like, why am I not okay with Mr. Perfect Dad right now? Why this should be a perfect day, But yeah,
I don't know that it ruins the day for her.
I don't know if it ruins the day either.
I
just mean that like,
I don't think she's thinking about it. I think it's just a kind of it's one of those things. It's like, I haven't thought about it. I keep mentioning Star Wars. It's like, I've felt a presence I haven't felt in, and then walk off, right? Yeah. That's Darth Vader, that's I think it's literally just that, she doesn't connect the dots until later, in my estimation. But
you don't think she's thought about it though?
I think with these scenes, the first few scenes of this memory montage shows us that they tried to move past it. She tried to accept that he swore everything he said was true.
Yeah.
And she didn't think about it. Mm. And I think that not that she didn't think about it, but that she forgot about it. That when they got into, it's almost like the honeymoon phase of their father-daughter relationship.
Oh.
That it's become so euphoric that they're just trying, that they're enjoying the aftermath of everything they went through. They're in a great place, you know, that this just becomes like the little seed of like, I don't think she's thought about the fireflies in a long time. No.
Okay.
In my head. But yeah, this does plant a seed. And we kind of move on to the angsty teenager.
Yeah.
Of this, all the teenage things at once, you know? I kind of knew what he was walking into. When that was happening. But yeah, he opens the door. It's Kat. They've been smoking weed and doing tattoos.
Maybe making out a little.
You know, and Kat's 19 and Ellie's only 17. You know, classic.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Joel kind of screws up there.
He for sure does.
You know, kind of gets angry. For what reason are you angry, Joel? But it's, does it like it's my house. I think, again, to show like how complacent both of them have gotten in this thing. And she has been thinking about it now as she's turning 17. But I think the seed got planted when she was 16, and he is still complacent. Like he's hasn't thought about it in a while. He's enjoying the new life. He doesn't think that we're not going backwards, we're moving forwards.
Yeah.
To the point where like he's forgotten who he was. He's forgotten who they are, in essence. And then he's like, this is my house, my house. And she's like, no, you don't own this.
They gave it to you.
They gave it to us.
Yeah.
Which is the indication that she believes that they don't belong here for whatever reason. I think it's always going to be a struggle for Ellie.
Yeah.
That we don't belong here, which is why also she's rebelling. It's not just regular teenage things all at once, which is what Joel thinks it is. It's something else, but he's not picking up on that, you know? Granted, he does, in my estimation, a good job of sort of apologizing for it. She does a good job, too, of apologizing. Like, I'm sorry that I did it. And he's like, well, I don't care about that stuff, but just show me the tattoo. It's a good tattoo. You know, like, it's like, yeah, we'll figure this out. Like, maybe you do need a place of your own. Like, maybe it is. Yeah.
I mean, this is what gets Ellie into the garage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of mutual. It's kind of Joel pushing her away a little bit.
I mean, he's pushing her away by also kind of doing the thing that like where parents like just want to be close.
Yeah.
He keeps trying to engage, you know, and correct or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just pushing her further away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thinks he understands what the moth thing is because of course he does.
This is so tragic. He's like, like growth, right?
Yeah.
New life.
Change, yeah.
And then Gale, spoiler alert, we're going to Gale.
Yeah.
Is like, no, it's death.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Joel.
Yeah. Also, she's like, do I look like I'm clocked in right now?
Yeah.
Are we on the clock?
God bless you, Catherine O'Hara.
And of course he doesn't
I told you we'd get into the scene with her.
She's reading Earth Abides, which
What is that, by the way?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it looked up the cover, and I was like, I'm going to have to look this up, aren't I? Right? And luckily, again, the internet came prepared. And also the podcast just outright says it, right? They this is a book they use as a post-apocalyptic setting. I don't need to go into the details. The synopsis doesn't matter, but they did a lot of research before making the first game, and this is one of the pieces of research. This is inspirations for some of the things for the show.
That's cool.
There is a main character named Ish. Ish is a character in the first game that you don't see, but is talked about.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know this. Yeah.
So it is a kind of like more of an Easter egg kind of thing. So Ish, if you don't remember, there's a moment where Joel and Ellie and Sam and his brother.
This little, he's so cute. I don't know
they all take refuge in this like kind of underground tunnel. Yeah, well, it turned into a school. I think it was like kind of sewers and industrial things before, and then they kind of used it as a community. And it was created by this character named Ish. So he's a legend, and he helped. He was like a hero for this community, but obviously didn't live. And great little Easter egg, and that's just
I'm all about
what
Easter
she was
eggs.
reading. I thought it was going to have more
That's
to
cool.
do with the episode. Like, what does that have to do? But yeah, I'd like that. I just like that she's a reader of sci-fi and apocalyptic. You know, it's a fun little thing that she engages with her own little, all of her coping mechanisms. Of course, it's like weed, alcohol, and and books. And not the actual people that she wants to help, because anything to deal with the actual people.
I mean, Gail never asked for this.
But yes, the death thing. And we don't really get a payoff to that, but we do see like Ellie is finishing up the tattoo and the moth and stuff, and we see the drawings. The drawings. So the things that she was like working on, the drafts, right? And it says you have a greater purpose.
Yeah, that was the thing.
She has been thinking about that.
Was it great purpose or greater purpose?
I wrote down you have a greater purpose.
Okay. I wrote down you have a great purpose.
Yeah.
But greater purpose would make sense.
Hey, words matter.
Yeah,
bro.
I mean,
so why don't you
Hey, not all of us can read goods. But yeah, no,
yes.
I'm like Seth is what I'm saying. No, I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
Like the way that we learn that Ellie is like thinking about existence and her purpose and stuff, and that moths have become it's just fucking cool.
And I brought this up before with the very first episode and how much she struggles with purpose and having lost that. And now we know that she really has been thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And she kind of knows, right? So we're in her room in the garage, and she wrote down the questions that she's going to ask Joel. And we know she doesn't write down anything, so we know it means a lot.
And yes, she hasn't just written them down. She's literally practicing asking them.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is like what, like people tell you to do to like, when like you're getting ready for a job interview or review, or like you're going to have a tough conversation with a partner about a breakup or something, and, practice saying it.
Or if you're going to, convince a town to go on a revenge journey.
Right. Or if you're going to call out your makeshift father about lying about killing 25 people and what your purpose in life was, but it's like, I get it. But it's just, she's taking it seriously.
I think it's funny that it recontextualizes the most innocuous scene of all of Jesse being like, write this down, talk about it. And she's like, of course, because I'm not stupid. And she's like, and he's like, no, because you're angry.
Nobody
and
votes
now we
for
know
angry.
that like she kind of has tried this before.
Yep.
It's a weird kind of because she has done this before, and she isn't stupid. But it was obviously it was different. I love that little recontextualization. Yeah, anyway,
agreed.
And he comes and he surprises her with like, I'm going to bring you on your first patrol. We have a lot to talk about that later on, but that again. Third little moment of like Bella, if I'm counting the moments of Bella giving me a little look or a little thing whenever Joel's like, go get your gun. And she's like, yeah.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
And we talked, this is one of our biggest TikToks on the first season. It was just when Ellie got her gun. And that moment is like, we kept talking about like the moment of like him giving and not giving. It's such a fun little season 1 thing. It's like, here, he trusts her. Go get your gun. Go do it. And I love that little look. It's like, yep, Ellie, you got your gun. And I just wanted to bring it up. Quick little moment to acknowledge Shimmer's here. It's just a flashback. We still don't know what Shimmer's doing, but she's here. Is it Shimmer, she, or he?
I don't know.
I don't know. But Shimmer's here, and we can all acknowledge that for at least one episode, Shimmer is okay.
For part of the episode.
It's still around.
Well, they ditched Shimmer pretty quickly to climb down that ravine. But then Ellie goes and
Well,
gets Shimmer.
they were coming back for Shimmer.
Theoretically.
Shimmer's around.
There's around. I mean, just left him in the open in the woods.
I'm waiting for the was it Guildenstern and Rosencrantz version of like Shimmer's like journey through it. The Last of Us 3 is just it's the Lion King 1.5, but it's just Shimmer.
I'm here for it. It's Seth and Shimmer.
Yeah.
The odd couple.
Listen, this is like, I know we mentioned it before, but I wrote down like back in the saddle again. Obvious symbolism is like they're back in the saddle.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing. He's doing his teaching and she's learning, right? I love that I'm your back, you're mine thing. Such a fun I love little is it a colloquialism? But like, this thing that the mottos, the things that they have, that they keep sharing back and forth, that they said it enough that they know it.
It's
right?
but it's cool because it's like Joel's rules of like partnership and combat.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how I've taught you to survive.
Yeah.
This is like, if you are moving through a dangerous place with a partner, like this is the rule. I'm your back, you're my back, like whatever. It's like, it's awesome. It's like, cool.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a thing, but it's something that I took notice of during this sequence of the scene is that now we're getting more drone shots. We're getting more landscapes. We're getting some wider pulling out of things. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what's being said here. I don't know if it's just so they could show the Wyoming countryside or their CG artists could have a little bit more fun with trees or whatever. But that it's noticeable that there's a change in how they're shooting things between the close, intimate moments between Joel and Ellie earlier on and everything happening in their inner world and stuff. And now we're expanding. Yeah. The world is expanding for some reason. It's just something that I noticed. And I don't know if I don't know if it's just because the cinematographer wanted this drone shot or if it's trying to say something. It doesn't really matter because I wasn't even sure if I should even mention it, but that's just something. They get a call on the radio. Something's happening. They're the closest ones there. Just like, okay, we're going to go do this thing. You got your back. I got yours. Whatever. We run into Eugene. Played by, as we mentioned before, Joey Pants. Yeah. And I'm only using that because I know that's what they called him on set. So,
he's great.
Joey tastes like chicken pants. Yeah. It took me so long. I was like, what, who is this actor? It's not, anyway, there's so many names that went through my head before I realized it was like this guy. Great character actor. Apparently they almost had a Matrix poster in Ellie's room.
No way.
And took it out. Or I think it might have been actually in the garage. If I remember correctly, there is a Matrix poster in the garage. So, worlds colliding.
That's pretty cool.
I have a whole this is a complete rant. I have a whole thing about the Matrix I want to do. It's just a clip. It's just a thing.
Matrix is a top 10 movie.
My favorite thing, I think that here, we'll give you a hint of my mind. It's the most iconic scene of the first Matrix, or one of the most iconic scenes.
Be careful here because there's a lot of iconic scenes in the movie.
The most iconic scene is whoa, I know Kung Fu. Yeah. And then they do the fighting thing. I think if you took out one moment, that scene doesn't work. And the moment is when Mouse runs into the room and he's like, Morpheus and Neo are fighting. And then they all run out. Yeah. That is what makes the movie, in my opinion.
Interesting.
That's a hot take. And you guys got it first. Okay. So
it is a hot take.
Moving on. What do we say about Eugene? We knew the scene was possibly coming.
Yeah. And also we know the gist of what happens already, but it's still so fucking tragic.
It's different than I expected.
Oh, really?
Can I say that?
Sure.
I thought when we talked about it, we're like, what do we know about Joel? He's violent. He's cold. He's pragmatic. This isn't at all what I thought it was. So when it's happening, there's I was conflicted because I'm at first I didn't agree with Joel and I thought about it more. I was no, he's doing a good thing. This isn't the Joel that we saw before. And I love that. This is not the same Joel that we were saying is like, he has his violent tendencies, that he is selfish, that he doesn't care about anyone. This is him like doing his best. He is being as practical and logical as he can be. And he is not, he's not going to give in and let Eugene go see Gale. But he's going to give him a moment. And he's going to try and give him as great, as beautiful, and as much closure as he can.
Yeah.
For this moment. And that is a different Joel than we have come to learn.
Huh.
As I have in hindsight thought about it. Because it's not what I thought. I thought it was going to be like something happens and it's chaotic and they're like surrounded by like people that are like, no, don't do the thing or whatever and all this kind of stuff. And he just does the thing.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not this. He allows him at least something. And he knows. And like, you can go back and forth and talk about, should he have gone back? Should they have allowed Gale and him? Should have? No. In no way. And
not.
There's reasons why. There's a bunch of reasons why Joel is probably right. But he still gives him a moment.
Yeah.
And that's something that does change how I view the scene and Joel and what I thought this was going to be. And we'll get into more about like what the real problem is.
Yeah. The real problem is something that happens after.
Or before. It's all at once, right? There's nothing that happens with Eugene is at all what's happening in this scene. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like Eugene is bit and he just wants to go back to Gale.
Yeah.
Just to one last moment, which is obviously. And I knew he was going to ask that because of course you would. He's like, I'm fine. Look, I'm fine. I have time. When Ellie asked him to hold out his hand, this was something that I had to like really think about. And I've been seeing a lot of TikToks about this thing and a lot of and about like Joel's decision and all this kind of stuff and whatever. This is one of those things where like I had to figure out because again, it's a made up thing for the show.
Okay.
And I say made up, like it's all made up, but
let's talk about it. We're on an even playing field on this one. No
Eugene
game.
Doesn't necessarily exist in this context, right?
Right.
I guess he died of old age in the game.
Whatever.
She asked him to hold out his hand, count to 10, do the thing. I had to really put myself into like Ellie's perspective and like why she's doing this. And it has nothing to do with Eugene in that moment. I think she loves Eugene. I think she cares about Eugene. Where do you think she got the weed a year ago?
Yeah, probably.
Probably from Eugene. She has a connection with Eugene. Probably. I don't think it has anything to do with Eugene. She knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Up until this point, though, she's been trapped in Jackson. She's been doing this thing with Joel. I don't think we see people get bit all that much in the first season or here. Like with Tess in the first season, and then anyone that they don't fucking care about gets bit. You know, that they're like, yeah, you go and you get bit.
Yeah.
You know, right? Since you've been to Jackson, this isn't a thing. This is her first patrol.
Yeah.
Ellie doesn't, if she's heard of people getting bit, if she knows an infector out there, it's a thing that happens when she's not around. This is the first time she's seen someone get bit and hasn't turned. And in her mind, she's thinking, are there any more people like me?
Oh.
And she still wants to believe that. She still wants to believe Joel. And that's what it has to do with. That she's like, if you, Joel, if you believe what you told me, then you will give him a chance because he's not turned yet. He's not dead yet. And there's a possibility, right? Because you told me there are more people that are immune. Right, Joel? Right, Joel? And that's the thing I didn't think about at first, but that's what's being presented here, I think. is that she is struggling with, we know because at the beginning of the day, she was going to confront him with all these questions. If there are more immune people out there, how have we not heard? How they have not heard of anyone being immune? And she's the only one struggling with this. And this is a test for Joel. This is her testing Joel's knowledge, and he has forgotten everything. And as much as I think she does care about Eugene and she wants to give him, she knows that if he is bit, he's going to turn. She's seen what happens. She's seen how fast it happens with Tess and with Riley. She's not stupid.
Yeah.
It's not about giving her a chance. They do not have any fucking time to walk back. There's absolutely no way. They did this on horses before and they got out here. They don't have time.
Is that true?
I don't think so. I don't think they have time. I think they're too far out. And I think he's going to be showing symptoms by the time they get to Gale. I think they both know that. But if he's immune, if Joel is telling the truth, then maybe she has to know. She has to give it that chance. And this is the first time, or the only time since Salt Lake City, that she's had a chance to be there, to get that moment. That's what I'm getting for that.
Cool.
It sounds like you did not.
No, I think she's just being, naive, optimistic Ellie in the same way. In the same way that when she sees Sam got bit, that she's like, "Oh, here, take some of my blood, and hopefully this will work out." And then the next morning he's not okay. But I thought it was just like her being like, maybe there's a chance we get back, and he's able to have like 3 words with Gale before. And even if we don't make it back, what's the harm in going towards Jackson? And if he turns, we put him down. I thought it was like we can try. Doesn't cost us anything. I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just like,
that's the thing. Is like, I might be reading so much into it, but that's the thing. It's like my initial thought is exactly what you thought.
Yeah.
That she just cares more than Joel does. Right. And the real test comes in the fact that like he promises.
Yeah.
Promise. And he was like, I promise. And it sounds a lot like when he promised the first time. And we know that like, if he breaks this promise, what other promises has he broken?
Yeah.
What promises do we know that Joel keeps?
I definitely saw that connection.
That's the thing, right? And so
when he's like, please don't kill him. I'm going to go get the horses. We're going to fix him. And then Joel kills him.
Yeah.
And she's like, you promised, right?
To me, it's like, I think it's not about right or wrong. I do think that I am reading a lot into the moment, more than probably what was there. But I also do think that that's a possibility, that on her mind was literally,
for sure,
is this person, this is the last chance. I know later on she's like, I'm going to give you one last chance. This was literally a test.
Yeah.
I don't think she cared that much about Eugene.
Yeah.
To put aside logic. She knows how the infection works, right? But I also know that she has been holed up, and this is her first patrol, and this might be the first time she's seen someone bitten and not turned in front of her in a long, long time, since probably Tess. And if you're telling me there are more immune people, should we not give him a chance?
Yeah.
Is what I think she's trying to do. And it's more of a test of Joel's honesty.
Yeah.
I think she knows that it's not going to happen. But she has to. But that's the thing. If Joel believed what he said, and if there were more immune people, he wouldn't cut straight to, I have to shoot you. Right? Because at any point, anyone who's bitten has a chance, right? Because you know that multiple people are immune. If you put that in that headspace, if you put that thought out there, and if you're like, this is something that happens, I know he knows that. And that's the thing, that he jumps straight to this. He jumps straight to, you can't go back. We're not idiots. And that's what's going on in her mind. She's like, no, but you told me.
Yeah.
That there's more people out there like me. So why do we have to? Why can't we just wait
Yeah.
and see? Has to be what's going on in my head, you know?
Sure.
I don't know. It's could be overanalyzing, could be overthinking, but I think it makes sense to me.
I mean, yeah, I hear you. I think that, I think that like, regardless of whether, if Bella's like interpretation, or if Ellie in this moment is like truly operating under, okay, if what Joel told me is true, then this person might not turn, right? Fine. That doesn't mean that Joel thinks like that. I would argue that even if
no, I don't think Joel does think like that.
Even if
because it's a lie.
But even if it wasn't,
sure.
If tons of people were immune,
sure.
I think Joel would still put them down as soon as they were bit, because Joel is a take no chances kind of guy. But I think that if Ellie wanted that, I'm like, why wouldn't she just say, like, what if he doesn't turn? He's been bit. It was at least 20 minutes, 30 minutes since we got the radio call. His hand isn't moving. Even if he turns, it might be slow. It might be, some people apparently, it's different rates, right? We know this.
Yeah.
That people like turn at different rates. So she could have said something like, what if he's a slow turner and he has another 24 hours or something like that? But she doesn't say any of that. So I don't know.
I mean, subtlety is kind of there. Again, I might be overanalyzing. I understand what you're saying for sure. I think it's, I hope that I'm not trying to make sense of a scene that probably doesn't work on its own. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I like my interpretation because it makes it better in my view. And not to say that it's bad, but the Eugene stuff, to be completely honest, is not the most compelling thing in terms of what we're losing, because there are other things we could have had if not for the Eugene thing, knowing the game, right? Okay. And I like the Eugene thing. And I like that she cares enough about this 70-something-year-old man. I don't know how old Joey is, but he's definitely not that age, right? But Eugene himself, we know, has been in Vietnam. So we've talked about like how old he probably is, and the fact that he's probably survived a lot. He survived apocalypse. He does he not deserve this? And that's one interpretation, that like Ellie is just trying to engage with Joel's heart, right? To say like he deserves a moment with Gail. And it's not a bad plan.
Yeah,
bring her out.
That's what I think she's doing.
Right.
I think she sees how vulnerable and sad and down and out on this man is.
Yeah.
Because Ellie always tries to break rules to get people what they want.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I'm just, and again, I could be overanalyzing it. I could be overthinking it or whatever, but I think multiple things could be true there because she doesn't say the things outright.
Yeah.
And because they leave it up to interpretation there. And I don't know what their intention was there. And so I'm trying to make sense of like that moment of her really, really struggling, because there is a huge heartbreak, not just for the broken promise, but I think it's her constantly putting the puzzle pieces together of something's not right. It's not just the one thing that you told me. There's multiple things that you might have lied to me about. It's the multiple questions that set up the scene, right? And so it's just one of the questions. It's like, if we think that there are immune people out there, then we wouldn't shoot on sight. We would wait. But Joel doesn't believe that because he lied about it. So maybe he just goes straight to like, I'm going to shoot.
Nobody believes it. Right. Or no one knows it, but Joel,
and no one knows,
the case,
but only she does. But
that's what I mean. She watches the whole
That's
town
the thing, but she assumes
this.
that Joel believes that. That's the thing, is like in your head, like it's the thing that you tell yourself. It's the image and the version of the things that you put, like, if this thing is true, like it's a gaslighting thing, right? It's the reality she has built, that there are more immune people out there, that she's been told, and that Joel believes because that's what he told her, that there are more people out there, there are more immune. So how would you operate if you would think that possibly more people could be immune, that it's not just a one-off thing? How would you operate in a world? She understands how Joel operates, but also, if this is what you know, then you would change the protocol, right? The procedures would change, and we would give him a chance, and it would be easier to let him walk ahead and all this kind of things. But the fact that he jumped straight to this thing means that, like, something's not right. There's a gaslighting kind of situation here, that the reality I believed is not true because Joel is not operating in the same reality that I'm operating in. Is just more what I'm saying. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I've talked way too much about it, but that's just something that I've taken from it that hopefully makes things feel better.
Sure.
And it's mostly because he does ultimately not keep his promise. He gives Eugene a moment. Do you believe if you love someone that you see their face? I don't know if I do.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Well, that's what he says, right? If you love someone, you'll remember their face.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I
think that's a weird thing to say to someone before they die.
It's a thing that he says. And what is interesting is that Neil Druckmann, specifically in the interview that I read earlier, that the interviewer asked, this is something that, like, when Eugene says, I see her, is he telling the truth? And Neil says, I did not ask because I didn't want to know. Because either he's telling the truth and I do see her face, or he's giving Joel an out. And I will say, what I have heard about the performance and what I have heard about from the interviews and stuff like that, that when Eugene gets bit, he reverts to, and the performance is supposed to show you that he reverts to his childlike self, that he's scared. I wrote down this quote. Eugene is scared. It's not about any words that he would have to give to her. He needed her to comfort him, Gail, in this moment where he's about to die and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Joey made this beautiful acting choice where he decided to regress to being a child. And if you watch his performance again, you'll see he's acting like a child. And that is just terrified. And I think that, for me, solidifies, like, that maybe Eugene couldn't see anything, but he realized, Joel, you're right. This is the best I can do, and I've lost my moment, and I was just scared.
Yeesh.
And it's hard, and I didn't necessarily get that from the performance, but having read it now and looking back on it, I'm like, it is a very different. Does it change it for you?
Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that, like, the thing that frustrates me about the scene between Joel and Eugene is that, like, Eugene is very clearly communicating what he wants. That he wants to see Gail, and that Joel is like, oh, well, you can say whatever last words you have for her to me and I'll tell her.
Yeah.
Which is a nice gesture.
Yeah.
But the whole point is he goes, no, I need her words. I need to know what she was going to say to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At that point, it's like, Joel should know that he has nothing to offer him. Like.
Yeah, that's the parallel, right? That's the thing that we get with Ellie and Joel later.
Of course.
Right? That it's not about what we thought Ellie lost, but she lost something else.
Yeah.
And that's what Joel was going to say.
Sure.
This what Joel was going to be,
Of course. But, like, I think I still like, I don't think Joel did like the wrong thing.
Here's the thing. I think what you're getting at, and I agree. I did not agree with Joel in this moment. Is that what you're saying? Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good plan.
Yeah.
Like, I thought like it was a request that made sense.
Yeah.
But I have to like try and think about like, what does Joel know if what does he actually know? And there's no indication that like Eugene says very confidently, like, I have an hour, maybe. That's not true.
Why not?
I don't think we've seen. I think Joel knows. I was like, you don't have an hour.
You think so?
Have we seen? We haven't seen anyone take an hour. Maybe Riley took an hour. I don't think she even took an hour.
I mean, the kid, the little boy in season one.
He did. He walked in the very
went
beginning of the
overnight.
season. Oh, Sam.
He was overnight, man. He went to bed and woke up turned.
We don't know when he turned per se. He just didn't notice Ellie was there until she made a noise.
I don't know. That's a stretching on that one.
It's also different in the game from the show because they're not sleeping in the same room together, and it's when she goes to check up on him. Like, so it's okay. So to be fair, like maybe an hour. Maybe they know. Maybe they all know, right? Yeah. It doesn't seem like they can get back in an hour, and there's a lot. You have problems with Joel's decision.
I mean,
because I agree.
I just don't think Eugene's request is outrageous.
No,
because there's nothing preventing him from being like, okay, start walking back to Jackson. We're going to be 30 feet behind you with a rifle drawn. And as soon as you make a strange noise or move erratically, I'll put you down. What does that cost Joel? What risk is he actually at 30 feet away with a rifle? And a kid who's immune, who's also going to have a gun drawn on him. I don't know,
Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Which is not Murphy's Law, but you know.
Look, I'm not trying to say that Joel is the sole asshole here, because from the text, right, the way it's written, there's very strict rules in Jackson. If you get bit,
that's what I think it is,
and I
think he implemented those rules.
And maybe,
yeah.
But I'm fine. Well, maybe, but I'm fine with that. I'm like, if maybe they've had a couple incidents where like someone was bit but not turned yet.
Well, we know the first time they even showed up, like they wouldn't let him anywhere near the town without the dog sniffing them the first time, right? Like this is like what gives you, and Eugene probably deserves more.
Yeah.
Eugene probably deserves more. And that's the thing. It's like, when I first watched the scene, I feel you. Like, I didn't agree with.
Because that's the other thing, is that even though Eugene is like, what do you mean my words? I need her words.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so you have nothing to offer him then. Still, have a shred of humanity and be like, tell me what you tell her. I want to know. What'd you love about her? What's your favorite thing you did with her? You know? What was your happiest memory with her? Just tell me everything.
Yeah.
Because not only is like, obviously this is going to be stuff that Gail's going to want to hear, but like, it's going to calm him down. It's going to put him at ease a little.
Just to play a little bit, because I agree with you. There's a whole lot. And again, the scene is like really weird. No, I don't disagree. I do think that the problem is not necessarily like, and we'll get to it. It's not that he killed Eugene and didn't bring him back. I think it's the fact that he lied about it.
Correct. Eugene needed to die. I agree with you on that. Like
Joel is making the decision that he needs to make, and I think he's doing it in a much different way than Joel would have done it in the past. And I think it's fucking beautiful, right?
Agree.
But to be fair, I said earlier, and I didn't put piece 2 and 2 together. Like we have these wide shots and these drone shots or whatever. It is going to take a lot longer than an hour to get back to Jackson.
Think so?
And I think he knows that. I think that we saw, it doesn't seem, it took him how long to probably climb down that cliff, ravine, whatever you want to call it. I know like visually they just kind of cut to it, but like there's no indication as Jackson's nowhere in sight in any of these drone shots.
Yeah.
They're like in the middle of the forest, and we've seen them patrol before. This is their safest trail, but they can't go. They have to leave the horses behind, and it takes her how long to go get the horses? Like, how long do you think, even in just real time, if you take it from real time, how long did it take for them to get to this thing and for her to find them? I don't believe that they get back there before he turns, and I think he knows that. Just to try and defend it a little bit. And I think it's a stretch. I think he's right, and I think it's not a bad request, but I think it's a stretch.
Yeah.
And I think Joel's the only one being like, it's not going to happen, buddy. It's not going to happen. We can't do this. You get there, worst case scenario, we have to shoot you before you get there. Second case scenario, we have to like see you bite Gail while you're outside the gate. That's fine, but do you want to put her in danger?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they let him get anywhere even close to Gail.
Your only therapist that like does such an amazing job, by the way.
No, come on. If they get but if they get back to town, I mean, it's like they leave him on the outside.
Well, he said like we'll stay out. She comes
like,
out to me, kind of thing, or whatever.
Yeah, like it's like they're not.
But then there's no one to protect her. I don't know. I guess you could have used the dogs. To be
or you give Gail a gun.
I'm on both sides. To be fair, like I was first on one side and then I'm on the other. But here's the thing: they do bring Eugene back, and Joel tells us. Not only does he tell the story,
they bring his body back. Just in clarity here.
They bring something
very
back.
reminiscent of Joel's body getting dragged.
No, you don't say. It's not just that he tells a story. It's that he tried to get Ellie on the same page. He's like, this is a story. This is what I'm going to tell Gail. You have to be on my side.
Did that happen?
Yeah. As they're walking back, he's like, I'm going to tell her this is what he said. This is what we're going to do. Because he doesn't want to give the whole truth. And Ellie's not saying a thing. She's walking ahead and he can't see her face.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. This is their MO. They're on the same page. And that's the problem. Is that Joel has lost Ellie and he doesn't even know it. He's doing the thing. He's like, we're on a patrol. He thinks that they're on the same side. He thinks that they both agree on like what happened and how it went down and all this kind of stuff because he knows I've taught you. I've been there with you. And again, he doesn't know what she's been struggling with this entire time, the questions that she's had. And it solidified this for her. You promised. You made this promise for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get that later. You swore. None of this has anything to do with Eugene. He tells a story. Ellie pipes in. She's like, that's not what happened. This is the fucking story.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened. Gail is obviously mad. And we think about that moment in the therapy scene. And she says, it's not what you did, Joel. It's how you did it. And in no way did I think like, I'm conflicted because I'm like, how he did it is not exactly what I thought how he did it. And so I have to think about, it's not how he killed Eugene. It's how he lied about it.
Oh, he lied about his last moments. Yeah, that's the fucked up part.
That he left out so much information there to try and wrap it around and tell the story. Reminds me a little bit about his father.
This is the first scene, right?
This justification of like, this is the information I give you. It's a little bit manipulative. Like, I give you the information that you need to know so you can see that like I tried, I did it. He said, I had no choice.
I mean, I was going to say...
Did you have no choice, Joel?
Yeah.
But to him, he justifies. And that's the how. That's the how to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think it mirrors the flashback at the beginning of the show, but not his father's words.
Yeah.
I think it's what he does for his brother.
Yes.
That he tells a lie because he knows it gets the result that he wants. And he thinks that his truth that he tells is more desirable outcome-wise than the actual truth.
Right. And also the fact that, like, as much as we've harped on this a lot, Ellie is Joel's daughter through and through. And we talked about last week, she's very bad at lying. And Joel has never been good at fucking lying.
No.
He lied to Ellie once, and unfortunately she was too young to understand that it was a lie.
Yeah, even though she kind of
and here he
it.
Can't get away with it. He didn't get away with it with his father. He's not going to get away with it now.
Yeah.
Great parallel.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me. It's like, I saw a TikTok that was completely wild left field about like, oh, like Joel did. It's wild to me that everyone disrespects Joel in this town, but he does the right thing. He does the logical thing or whatever. And like the nuance about the fact is like, I love Joel so much more. So many people love Joel so much more in this episode than Ellie because like he does the thing that he needs to do. He's a man and he takes the blame and he takes the brunt of the thing or whatever. I was like, you thought he took the blame for whatever?
No, he literally, I mean, he said the lie that he told was that Eugene did it himself. So he literally didn't even say, and I shot him. He even lied about how Eugene died.
Yeah. The part of me that like bugs me the most is like the disrespect that Joel gets. And he's like, and he takes it on the chin. What? And he's just stoic and whatever. I was like,
who thinks this shit?
Fuck you.
Who thinks this shit? What?
First of all,
it's a horrible take.
Ellie doesn't disrespect Joel.
Yeah.
Gail does not disrespect Joel.
Yeah.
There is no disrespect for the decision that he made for Eugene. They respect him for that. He's making, in my estimation, like he made the choice that he had to make, and that's fine. The problem is that he does not divulge the truth, that he justifies and he twists the narrative to fit something in his selfish view to make it feel better.
Which is like also so fucked up. Like because
it is. But that's what he learned.
Because can you imagine?
Yeah.
Had he been like, okay, Eugene, you're not going back to Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you 20 minutes. I want you to tell me everything you can about Gail and why you love her and what you want me to say. And then that's it. And I'm going to shoot you in the head. And then he shoots him in the head. And then he takes Eugene's body back and he goes, Gail, we need to talk. I shot your husband because he was bit.
Mm-hmm.
We had a 20-minute conversation about how important you are to him. Here's all the things he said. Is Gail going to be upset or angry about that at all? No way. No way.
I think it's clear that people respect Joel in this community.
I mean,
Seth respects Joel. Gail respects Joel. She allows him to sit down and just give his thing because he provides a lot to this fucking community. He's a good guy. He's given. I wanted to see Joel in 5 years, the time that he's been in Jackson and how much he's integrated himself and he's become like the guy.
Yeah. He kind of has, you know?
That's the thing. It's like to say that like everyone disrespects Joel in this community. Like who? No one disrespects Joel. Ellie doesn't disrespect Joel. And at the very end of this whole conversation, again, they pointed out so much in the podcast and the behind the scenes. It's something that I noticed. But, you know, it's not subtle if you listen to the behind the scenes. But she's like, you swore. And you know, she's not talking about the promise that he made before.
She's not talking about Eugene.
No.
She's talking about the fireflies.
She's talking about the fireflies.
100%. Especially, and the reason she's saying it now is because she's just watched him stone cold lie.
In the same way that he did before.
Same way.
Yeah.
Straight faced.
Yep.
Here's an alternative set of facts. There's this, this is how it happened. Right?
Yeah.
She just watched him do it again to another innocent person who didn't deserve to be lied to.
And if you just said the truth If you just tried, if you just given it any sort of time.
Yeah.
If you didn't try and justify, if you didn't try and manipulate the situation to be right, Joel,
Yep.
then maybe things would have gone better here.
100%.
Maybe you don't get slapped on the face. And maybe
Gil doesn't hate you.
you know.
Should we
we have to go to the porch scene.
Should we talk about the last scene?
The
It
dance.
feeds pretty well into
First
this
of all,
one.
we need to talk about the dance. There's a recontextualization of the
Sure,
dance,
there is.
or whatever. The only thing, probably two things, right? We didn't get this version of the dance from before. It's a great moment. Again, we get a little Uncle Joel. We get a little Tommy brother thing, and Maria gives. Is it Maria or Maria? I don't know.
Maria
gives this, a little convenient out of know your family kind of thing. That's the one thing that I will say is more convenient than anything in terms of the writing, but it's there. It's I like it, The more specific thing I want to point out is we don't, and I think we're going to get this more next week, maybe.
Uh-oh.
And mostly because we talked about it a little bit about Tommy's stuff, right? And we talk a lot about the last night with Ellie and Joel. This is the last time Tommy saw Joel.
Yeah.
Before everything happened.
Yeah.
Because in the game, they went on the patrol together. Here, this is literally, they didn't go on the patrol. This is literally the last moment. And he's
right.
What is he? I forget what he says when Joel says, when Tommy leaves.
He says, "I'll see you next year."
That's it. And he doesn't.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. And we've been thinking and talking about so much about what's eating up Ellie. And we have not talked about what's eating up Tommy. That he never in a million years thought that was the last moment that he saw his brother.
Yeah.
That's a heartbreaking moment. I'm glad that they gave us this, even though it's something that we didn't get in the game. It's totally, completely different circumstances or whatever. But I'm oh no, where is Tommy's head at now? Because we don't know where Tommy is. And that is, I don't think it's a stretch to say we started this episode with Tommy and Joel and how much their relationship means. And I love that I love that the show that gives us more in the game of what that relationship is. And it's not a stretch to say that Tommy is struggling.
Yeah.
That would be the last moment, that this is the thing that was taken from him too. It's not just Ellie. And we have to recognize that. Just something that I have to point out.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to pay off next episode. And I don't know because we haven't seen Tommy in the I'm terrible at speaking. The teasers, right?
Okay.
But so I don't know. But we know he's there.
Yeah.
And we know that we have whatever the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
He's probably just as angry. And we never talk about that. We never, even in the game, we never talk about what Tommy lost.
Yeah.
And brotherhood for me matters.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is just the fact that now that we know Seth is the cop and that whole reaction from Joel, okay, are you putting a little bit of your dad into Seth whenever you push him or punch him or whatever? Could be a thing, could not be a thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's nothing really that the dance scene recontextualizes, but those are two little things for me. Anything for you?
No, I got nothing on the dance.
Let's talk about the porch then.
Yeah.
And I've already mentioned the porch scene shouldn't happen here.
Well, doesn't happen here in the game.
It happens at the end of the game, and I have problems with it being here. And I also have problems with the fact that it's a combination of scenes.
Okay.
There is a scene that we missed, a flashback where Ellie goes to Salt Lake City on her own and Joel follows her. when she's trying to piece together and she thinks and has thoughts about like what actually happened here. And she goes to St. Mary's Hospital. And outside of the hospital, they have this conversation. I'm going to give you one last chance, Joel. And if you don't tell me the truth, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
That happens here in the porch scene. All those questions, all those things. Beyond that, everything else is exactly from the porch scene.
Okay.
All of that said, I need to know what you thought about this, especially because we've talked so much every episode about the thing she did not get to do.
Yep.
The conversations she did not get to have, the things that ripped away from her.
Yep.
And that's important because, again, one of the last few scenes of the game is this scene on the porch, and it recontextualizes fucking everything.
Yeah, that she did get it,
and we're getting it sooner.
Yeah,
because otherwise, we want to get it for another 3 years almost.
Yeah.
You know, does it help? What's going on?
Yes and no.
How did it feel?
Like,
did it emotionally?
I think the biggest thing I want to say about this scene is that Pedro Pascal is just fucking pitch perfect for me.
Give him all the awards.
But truly, this is why he's one of the living greats, and why I just hope we just keep putting him in everything.
Mm-hmm. Because
he's like, obviously he's playing a man who's like struggles with vulnerability, right? And so you're watching her ask these questions, and he's so horrified, I think, of himself and the pain he's caused both to these people and to her. And also, I think he's terrified, as he says, that, well, if I just tell you the truth, you're going to turn away from me, or it's lose-lose for me.
The moment he answers his questions truthfully, she's gonna. That was his fear.
Yep, and which I get. Yeah. Right. You do a horrible thing, and it's either like lie about it and hope no one finds out, or tell people and then they know you did a horrible thing.
He's been holding on to this for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think I'm just obsessed with Pedro's performance. I think it's so fucking good. I don't want to get into all the nitty gritty and whatnot, because it's like, you talk about something as organic as a performance like that, and but it's like, he looks so uncomfortable and heartbroken, and there's moments where he looks like he just wants to hug her, and then there's moments where he looks like he's filled with rage, and stuff, and it's just like, it's awesome. I loved it.
Amazing. The scene, I will say, is just as good as in the game, even though it comes differently.
Yeah.
I have problems with it, but I want to defend it.
Yeah. So here's like, beyond Pedro's performance.
Yes.
I have questions, right?
Yeah.
Having not played the game.
Yeah.
I've been operating the entire time as if Ellie had so much left unsaid with Joel.
Absolutely.
And apparently she said it all just the day before he passed.
Supposedly.
And so now, supposedly, right. Who knows? Maybe this is a fucking acid flashback.
Whatever.
But
there are things that, what I just said, that Salt Lake City, her going and asking these questions and her giving the ultimatum, the thing that people have problem with for the show specifically is that happened 2 years prior, and that she's had 2 years of being on the rocks and at odds with Joel. And that makes sense. And so when this conversation happens, it's a little bit more cathartic.
Necessary.
The fact that they combine it here, that is a little bit of an issue for me. That it's way too convenient for it all to happen all at once, right?
Yeah, it's almost as if they know that one of them is going to die tomorrow.
Right. Given that it is happening, I'm going to give the show the benefit of the doubt, right? One of the things I want to say of the scene, whether it comes at the end of the show or here, no matter what, this is not closure. never in a million years have I ever considered this closure for Ellie.
No.
Because this is not the point of the scene is that it recontextualizes why she was mad and why she's in a rage, revenge kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because like in the most, I do think that like leaving at the end of the game and leaving at the end of the series would have been better. But here, at the very least, the point is still the same. What we thought was getting ripped away from her, which was what you said, that like what was left unsaid, or like what all those kind of things, is not what was ripped. That she said the things, but she didn't get the chance to get to know Joel.
Yeah.
That she was operating under for the past 5 years. This is the person I know. But I need to forgive him, and I don't think I can. And I'm going to try. I'm going to try and get to know him for who he really is. And if he can tell me the truth, I'm going to change my perception of him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try. I'm going to try and forgive him. And that was ripped away from her.
Yeah.
And that you took away my ability to get closure, Abby.
Right. And
It's not the fact, like, that's the thing is like most people think about like when it comes at the end of the game, like that this is closure. That like, oh, she did get a chance to say all the things. And I don't think she did. And I think that's the thing is like, this is a years long journey. It takes a long time to forgive. There's a whole lot that she had started, that she even like thought about the fact that like,
I think there's catharsis in learning the truth. 100%. Undeniable. Okay, I've gotten to the bottom through the bullshit. But
yeah,
there's absolutely not catharsis in being like, what's my relationship with this man now? Because the last 5 years have been built on a huge fucking lie.
I'm sorry. That's what I was saying. That she built up this image of like what things were going to be.
Yes.
Just like I had like gotten this job and then I was rejected. And then all the things that I thought that my next few months or whatever was going to be, my future was going to be, suddenly I was like, oh, that's not what it's going to be. Even though I work for this company or all this kind of stuff or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so you build up this idea of like, this is what it's going to be. If he can do this, if we can come to the same page or whatever, this is what the future looks like. And the moment she goes to sleep or the moment she has that conversation with him, it's the future that's ripped away from her. And it's different. It's different from like not having closure or not having him say so. And he didn't say he's sorry, to be completely fair, right? He doesn't do the thing the same way that his father doesn't do. Like he's like, I would have done.
So you do it again.
I would have done the same thing. He doesn't ever. He is selfish. She says like, you were selfish. And he's like, no, it's because I loved you. And you'll understand that someday. I was like, no, he is selfish. Yeah. And the creators specifically talk over and over again about how selfish Joel is. Because otherwise you wouldn't justify, you would understand. Right? And that is what was ripped away from her, was like the ability to understand, to get to know. I've talked about it before on the podcast. The thing that a mentor said to me was like, to be fully loved is to be fully known. He says, I love you. And he knows Ellie. But she doesn't know him quite as well because he has lied. And in order for her to be able to know him, that's what she's going to try to do. And then before she can do that, it's ripped away from her.
Yeah.
It is a different context. It is a different thing that is. Her rage is still justified, but it is not the same. Obviously, people all the time want to be like, "Oh, well, she got to say the things. they got to like have a happy moment. They got to have the like closure kind of thing. I was like, it's not closure.
Not closure.
There was never closure. Her journey is still justified. This happened in the past and we are recontextualizing it for ourselves, but it was always there for her. So why is she still so angry? It's because something else was ripped away from her that she didn't get to have. It's basically what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
What else about that scene?
I mean, I think
I do have other things, but yeah, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you were talking.
I think.
What does this do? How does this change her journey for you? Because that's the problem, right? Because at the end of the day, like this scene does essentially come at the end of the game. I'm not going to get into the fact that like her revelation of Firefly is her interrogating Joel and him admitting what he did and him saying like, well, he says it here in the porch scene, but in the game, there's a difference between like him saying and her knowing for 2 years, right? That it wasn't just something that just happened all at once after Eugene. And she says here, even in a scene and even in the games, like, I think I knew the whole time. I'm curious as someone who hasn't played the game, because again, this is something that comes after rage, after rage, after rage. There's a whole other season, potentially, maybe 2, I don't know, before the scene eventually comes. That you're in a different headspace, that it becomes Ellie's journey is so much more revenge filled before you finally get the moment of like, what was the problem?
Yeah.
And now you're getting it here a lot earlier.
Well, I think it's good we're talking about it because I think that there's another thematic thing that we haven't like talked about a whole lot on this episode yet. Mm-hmm. That the combination, the synthesis of the 2 scenes you're talking about that are the porch scene, like definitely are pointed very strongly at. That I think season 2 is also poking us at really hard, and that's purpose, right? And I think that it's super interesting because after episode 6, I think it's very clear that we're like, Ellie saw her purpose as being the cure. That gets taken from her by Joel, right? She says that in the porch scene. You took my purpose, right? She at least gets the truth, like we said. But now she doesn't know if she can forgive Joel, but she wants to try, right? And I think that like what we're watching Ellie do in episodes, 3, 4, and 5, the 3 episodes before this is like start to discover new purpose. And I think at first it was kill Abby. And then I think it was maybe take care of Dina and child, And I think that the porch scene, giving it to us here is supposed to like crystallize some sort of like longer search for meaning or purpose for her character.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but I think from a writing perspective, that's what I see the writers doing.
It's weird because I'd be curious at this point what season 3 is going to mean for you, considering now you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about, and this is the last maybe secret, major secret that I had to keep was
spoiler.
No, it was a scene.
Yeah.
It was the fact that like we talked about so much as like they didn't get
things unsaid.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, they did get to talk about something, and that's not something you only find out until the end, right?
Yeah.
But like she has to go through her whole journey before you figure out like at least they got this.
But it is
and
interesting.
I don't want to spoil the journey of the kind of thing, but it is interesting now that like when you go through season 3, and even me, like having played the game, is like now we know. Now we're supposed to know, right? But does revenge make sense? Does what she goes through and whatever like makes sense. And to me, that's where I'm like, I have to try and figure out like, does this recontextualize like the thing we thought she lost is really something else, and it matters just as much.
Yeah,
that it makes revenge matter just as much. You know, because she still has to go through a whole season of revenge.
Yeah, I mean, she killed Nora. There's like what, 6 more of them.
Potentially.
Yeah,
right.
maybe whatever.
Yeah.
I think I have one other like cute little thing I want to talk about with the porch scene.
No cute thing.
Please, it's so tender.
So cute.
But like, it's so tender.
The third time I cried was, by the way, when he was like, "I loved you."
Yeah. So I started crying in this scene. This is the first time I cried this season.
Yeah.
I started crying in this scene.
Can I ask before? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What they specifically visually show you the exact same thing. She crosses. What were you thinking? What happened when she came back? What happened in your mind or head, or like?
I mean, I knew it immediately. I was just like,
you thought she was going to come back.
Yep. I was like, oh, they're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, they're for sure going to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Continue on then with because I'm just curious, because again, I knew she was going to come back, but I've played the game,
for
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was just watching it and I was just like, oh, well, they wouldn't come back to this if there wasn't more that they were going to show us from a different perspective.
Right.
I'm like, the whole point of the like all the like other shots they've shown us so far is like, showing us more angles or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But no, the line that did it for me on the porch was when Joel's like, so Dina,
Yes.
I don't know what her intentions are, but she'd be lucky to have you. And I was just like, oh, Dad.
Dad. Such a dad thing.
Oh my God.
Such a Joel
Shut up.
dad thing.
He's like, is trying so hard to be like, I love you and support you and also need you to feel like valued and this is the only way I know how to express it. It's just so, and he kind of stammers it out, Yeah. It's not sensitive. Like Pedro can be such a sensitive actor.
Yeah.
But Joel's not, And he's like choking the words out. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my God, I loved it.
Yeah.
But my biggest takeaway from the scene, it was cool watching it just because I agree that Joel's selfish. I'm not going to try and sit here and be like, no, he's not that selfish. He absolutely is. Okay. He is. But like the whole time.
Both are true.
Yeah. When she's like, you took my purpose from me. Watching the scene, I'm like, he did. But also, if you die, Joel loses his purpose. He's got nothing else to live for.
Yeah.
And that's the truth that Joel knows too. And that's what he's trying to tell her, maybe if you have one of your own one day, you'll love him like I love you or whatever she says, but like, that's the implicit thing at that conversation. That's why the writing's so good. He knows Ellie's right, of course. Her purpose was to maybe find a cure and help the world, millions of people. But to Joel, Ellie is his world. That's it. Right? And so if the decision is one of us loses our world, well, I'm not going to let it be me. I get why I get it.
Well, he's lost so much already.
Especially because he's watched people take his world away from him multiple times.
His daughter. He's already lost one daughter, wife. Right? Like, it's not.
Yep. So I'm just saying, like, it's easy to label him as selfish, but like, man, I get it.
That's the thing is like, at first when she says I'm selfish, it's like we've many times said he's selfish. I think on the show, the showrunners have said it, like we've talked about on the podcast, like, yes, she's right. He's selfish. But then it's like, he's like, no, I'm not. I loved you. And it's like, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's the problem though. It's like both things are true. Like 100%. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Loving someone does not mean you're not selfish.
Right.
And that's a weird, like, contradiction of emotions going on there. There are two things I have to talk about with this scene that kind of go into, I don't know, I have to say it because I feel like I have an obligation to say it, these things. And I don't know if it's what the intention of the writers were. Two things. We're going to start with what you said earlier, is like what he says to her about having a child and like one day you'll understand and one day maybe you'll do better than me, which is a mirror, an echo, I will say. It's an echo of the words that his father says to him. One day, maybe you'll do better than me.
Yep.
I need to dispel a myth here, in my estimation, and this is just my opinion. Having, gone through therapy, gone through like 12 steps in recovery and whatever, the thing that I've learned is that no matter how good of a parent you're always going to fuck up your kid.
Sure.
There's never one, you can be a bad parent, you could be a good parent, you're still going to screw up.
Dude, yeah, we're all human beings. We all have problems. And they all come from the people that raise us.
And there's something about parents where they do this thing. Maybe you'll do better than me. Maybe I'll just do a little bit better and then they'll be better. All those kind of things. There is nothing stopping you, Mr. Miller, Joel, from doing better now.
Right now.
If you are a parent, or if you're wanting to be a parent or whatever, and you have the thought, like, I'm just going to try, there's no justification in my mind. Just know you're going to fuck up your kid. You can do all the things really good. You can be a really good parent.
Yeah. And
for some fucking reason, they're going to be a really bad child. They're going to be traumatized. They're going to have some problems. There's a reason why in therapy we always talk about who were your parents? What did they do? Therapy always comes down to that. 12 steps, recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous. What happened in your childhood? Right? No matter how good you are, you're going to screw up. Do better now. And I'm telling you now, and I'm telling Joel, I'm telling everyone else.
Totally.
I was like, just, you can't. Like, you're like, recognize that you're going to screw up. And your child's going to hate you or whatever. Or maybe they'll love you and they'll still feel like, whatever you taught me, like it gave me like mixed emotions about like how I'm supposed to feel about things or whatever. It's like, okay, then try better. Don't justify it. Don't be like Joel. There's no reason like Mr. Miller or Joel. Like that is a bad, and I don't know that the writers created this. I feel like I have an obligation to say it's like, you're going to think like I'm do a little bit, but then like you stop. I'm not as bad as my parents. And so therefore I'm good.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, when someone tells you like, I feel bad. I have a bad obligation. Don't guilt them. Don't tell them that like, well, this is not as bad as I had it. Don't say I walked uphill both ways. That, oh, you think you had it bad? I had it worse. There's no justification for that kind of thing. And as much as I love Joel, you can do better now. And that's the thing that, to be honest, that's the thing that he didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
This is the moment. This is the moment that where he could have done better, that he could have tried. And he has been. And I told you, like in the Eugene thing, like I think this is different. He has not been the same Joel. He is trying.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of times where he does fuck up, as with the tattoo cat scene. And then he comes back and he's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He apologizes.
I'm screwed up. Very convenient for the story, but like shows us that Joel can be better.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And do I think that Joel's being better than Mr. Miller? Yes.
Yeah. But
But at the same time, like you don't just stop there. please don't stop there. It's just what I'm trying to say. You don't have to just put it off of like, you don't put it on your kid to be better for the other generation. Be better now is all I'm trying to say. You can. As a parent, you can. As a child of parents, as we all are, I'm imploring you as a parent, try now. It is not too late.
Yeah.
That's just one thing I want to say. I'm
Sure.
sorry if that's like a soapbox that I'm trying to get on. But as a child of like broken parents and divorce and all that kind of stuff, is like we grow up looking to you. Like you don't just, I have to understand, potentially I'm going to have a child someday if I'm lucky, because I view children as a gift, right?
Sure.
And I have to know that I'm going to screw them up. And no matter what I do, I could try and be good. I can try and be better or whatever. And the moment they come to me and there's some sort, it's not about I'm right and they're wrong. What can I do? There's always a moment that can be like, I can try. That I have to recognize I'm going to give them a version of the world and a viewpoint of the world and a perspective of the world that is completely my own. And it might not be right to them. And it might screw them up in how they interact with the world. And I need to change. Once you become a parent, you don't suddenly solidify. You don't suddenly become like a rock that doesn't change.
Yeah.
You know? You're not like a fossil. I'm just not putting together the fact that like there's a museum and there's dinosaurs or whatever. You're not a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You can change. You can evolve. You can be a human being
Mm-hmm.
and you can change. I'm sorry. Am I being too much?
No.
I hope
I
not.
mean, like, I hear you. I mean,
Yeah.
like also is like, this doesn't just apply to parenting, right?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like, today's the day to be the best version of yourself in any way, whether it's as a parent or as an artist or as a lawyer, as a brother, as a fucking boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? It's like, your
Text
behavior.
that person back.
But
if
for
you were
real.
sitting on that text and you were saying like, oh, I didn't see it or do whatever, you saw the text and you want to text them back.
But it's true, right?
Do it. They don't fucking care.
But also, it's like,
Sorry, go ahead.
but it's the same thing though.
Yeah.
It's like you're
Yeah.
framing it as parenthood, and you're right.
Yeah.
But also, it doesn't need to even be about parenthood.
Yeah.
You've been like shitty and lazy at your job, and you wish you tried harder.
Yeah.
You can just show up one day and start trying harder. You can. And it's going to take effort. It's going to feel weird, and your coworkers might be like, "Jesus, dude, what's going on?" You know. But like, your life is never set in stone, for sure. And like, yes, if you do things in a certain way for a long time, yeah, it's going to be hard for sure. But and especially if you're a parent, I'm not trying to minimize the impact that parents have on people. But I'm just saying, like, even if you're not a parent, if you're unhappy with the way your life is going, or there's something about it that you think is changing, it's like, you can always change.
I think that parenthood is a big thing about the episode, the fact that they bookend it.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And so that's why I'm specifically talking to parents here, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that like we've all been through that. Like we like to mythologize Joel as like a good dad or a good person. And we say like, oh, he's not selfish. He just did a thing because he loved us. Like, no, he was fucking wrong. In the same way, as much as we try, like right now we're talking about who's the better writer. Craig Mazin floated the idea, why don't we see Joel's childhood? Why don't we see his dad? And he's smart enough to show that like his dad did the same thing and he didn't change as far as we know. And I'd look at Tony Dalton, as much as I love him, and I'm like, then just do it. There's literally no reason why you should put on your child, be a better person than I was. No. How about you be a better person now?
Yeah, sure.
Is what I want to say to everyone,
To Tony
parent, or with Tony Dalton specifically.
But yes, I hear you.
Because like, can you not? Can you not change? Why is it that we've put ourselves in these things where it's like, nope, I'm, to be fair, guilty of this as well.
We all are.
That I would be like, I am the way I am. I'm a fucking asshole. You just have to accept me the way that I am. I'm never going to fucking change. No, just
We all do that.
try and change now.
Yeah.
My therapist told me this morning, just reframe some things.
Yeah.
You can fix yourself. You don't have to put it off till later. You don't have to put it on your children. Do not put it on the next generation. Be better now.
Mm-hmm.
And free Palestine. I don't fucking know. The other thing I'm sorry, I've talked about it so much. I'm just going to move on.
You're good.
The other thing I have to say to the people that like see themselves in Ellie when she says, and you've danced around it a little bit, I had a purpose. Specifically, my life could have fucking mattered. And that's the thing that breaks my heart, because every time I hear her say that, I'm in Joel's perspective. And I try and think of any person that's ever said that. My life could have fucking mattered. Ellie, stop. She says it with such conviction. She says it with such confidence that this is the thing that she's been struggling with. And I want to tell her, and Joel doesn't tell her this, but I want to tell her, it's like, your life does matter.
Yeah.
Do not ever put yourself that you should have died. And I released a video of last week of the fact that like, this is her purpose, that this is what she thought, that this is a person that was supposed to have died. When Nora encounters her and she says like, you're her, that there was something wrapped up in that for Ellie. If you're out there and you think that you have to die, or that your purpose or anything is wrapped up into this kind of thing, it's like that your life matters for this one thing, that's not fucking true. And I wish Joel had said something to her that like, your life still matters. Her life still matters with Dina. Her life still matters with Jesse. Her life still matters with Tommy.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the controversial thing about whether or not there was a fucking cure. I don't fucking care. There's no world for me that her purpose was to fucking die.
Sure.
That is not true. And I know people will latch onto and try and empathize with that idea for Ellie, that that's the thing that she needed to do. And I get that. And I get that that's what she's struggling with. But I wanted so much in that moment to tell her, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You do matter. Your life in Jackson matters. Everything that you give to everyone does matter. And you're not seeing it. And that's for me, the rest of the journey is that she's not seeing how much she matters to like other people. And most probably because I want to tell other people that.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no, barring Jesus Christ our Lord, there's literally no fucking person ever in like cinema or the world or like popular culture or anything that is ever supposed to die for everyone else.
Yeah.
No. And the reason is because, and what Joel doesn't even understand himself, but we understand because we're looking at it from the outside in, from a macro perspective. The world was fucking done. If she was immune, doesn't fucking matter. She's the only one. This is what was supposed to happen. Cordyceps comes, it takes over the fucking world. The immunity is a fucking happenstance, 1 in a million chance. There's absolutely no way that this exists. And it is not supposed to be put on this one fucking person. And that was not supposed to be the thing. I don't think even Joel's thinking about that. But the fact is like, at the end of the day, it's like humanity's lost. We've seen that. We've seen over 25 years. And immunity was never going to fucking change that. There are people that wanted the world to change. And they went on their fucking journey. And they created the WLF. They created the Seraphites. They created Fedra. They created the Fireflies. For their own fucking selfish reasons. Ellie wasn't going to fucking change that. And to think that that was going to change fucking anything doesn't fucking matter. We're only looking at like small communities, not even the entire fucking world. We don't even know what's happening in the rest of the world. This fucking game, the creators are from Canada and they're making it in the US. What's happening in fucking Canada? We don't fucking know.
I don't know.
Ellie and anyone who out there who empathizes with Ellie, you matter. Your life matters. Living matters. Living, as you said earlier, the purpose for Joel right now is Ellie. And that matters. That's enough. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, it's like, I understand what Ellie's saying there. I just have to push back.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't want anyone to think that that is right in my personal values and morals or whatever.
And this is like, yes. And this is what's cool about season 2, right? We've talked about this on past episodes. So not to beat a dead horse, but like, that's what's cool about Ellie and Dina, and then Ellie and Dina and a kid. This is visible in Bella Ramsey's performance that Ellie is finding new purpose and starting to be like, very clearly she's been thinking, mistakenly, as you're pointing out, that she missed the purpose train. That, like, you know, it's not. And I was like, no, you still have so much to live for. So much.
Yeah. I think it's life, right? Like the idea that, and I don't even know, as much as I love Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, I don't think that they thought about this when they wrote the story.
Oh.
It's a lot. But that's why I love the show, right? That's why I love this thing. It's like that purpose is the thing that I've dealt with. A lot of people don't know that I was born on like Christmas Day.
Oh.
And so the idea of like purpose has like been ingrained in me from like the fucking beginning. You know, I grew up in the Bible Belt in Texas.
You
like,
and Jesus. Oof.
You know, like it's a lot, right? Like, so missing your purpose, it's hard because like the idea of like the chosen one, these like mythology, like I want to talk about in my writings, and a lot of people have like contextualize this in their own writings or whatever. It's like, what does the chosen one mean? You know, it's like Ellie, like I struggle with success. I struggle with purpose. I struggle with all these different things. And sometimes I maybe don't recognize it in myself. My purpose is like right here. I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you. And I'm not trying to like toot my own fucking horn here, but like, I don't know who this is going to impact. I don't know what this series or the show is going to impact or whatever, but like, do not put all your eggs in like this one basket of like purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
This doesn't exist. This is the thing that we talk about in media. This is the thing that we put in pop culture or whatever that we try and talk about. It's like, purpose is the galaxy's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like what is the purpose of life? What's the answer, right? It's like 42, right? It's like there's no answer. There literally isn't. That's the point, right? There is no one way. This is me philosophizing or whatever. There's no specific, like if we had figured this fucking out, we would have figured it out like 2,000 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
However many years ago that we've been on this fucking earth, right? It's been a constant kind of thing. Purpose is elusive. Purpose is non-existent. And sometimes the purpose is right here. And you can't change that. And Joel's right. I would not change that.
Yeah.
I would not do I would not do anything differently. Joel is at that moment acknowledging the fact that like this is just the way it is. This is how things played out.
Yeah.
And this is how it's always going to be. There's no such thing as a multiverse. There's no such thing as like other dimensions where a decision you make could be different. No, it's just this. This is what happened. There's no purpose. The purpose is now. The purpose is like, who are you with this person? And who are you yourself? Can you be fully yourself? Probably. I don't know. I'm sorry that you came to this podcast and like now you got like a lecture on something that is not fully fleshed in my mind, but that's what it is, you know. Purpose is elusive, and I don't think we're gonna figure it out. I don't think Ellie understands what her purpose is.
Not yet.
I don't think Ellie knows. She can say it with as much as conviction she wants, and I do not believe there's 0% of me that believes that she should have died for everyone else. I think I would have made the exact same decision as Joel. There's no reason why that should have happened. Especially because in the fact that this story, this scenario, this whatever, humanity was already gone for 20 years. What's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Find an immunity. What's it going to do? People are gone. They got what they wanted. A lot of people, the prophet got what she wanted. Isaac got what he wanted.
Yeah.
David got what he wanted. And immunity wasn't going to change that. The one thing that we haven't seen in The Last of Us that I'm hope, and I know that there's a question of whether we're going to do Last of Us 3. We haven't seen anyone that's worshipped the cordyceps. We talked about it last week. Is this evolution? Is this thing that man's supposed to be?
Yeah,
is this not the like natural order of things? And is there not, in that sense, a sect, a group, a cult of people that believe this is life and we should just not interfere? And maybe we should worship and embrace the cordyceps. And this is what we should be. This is natural order of things. We haven't run into that yet. And I don't know if we're ever going to. Purpose doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I've said it a lot.
No, you're good.
Is there anything?
No, I'm just excited at the idea of like cordyceps cultists.
Maybe someday. I'm being honest in that it's not in The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
You know, the closest we got is the Seraphites, but
Yeah.
it's not quite a cordyceps. Like, you would think that they would exist, right?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they do.
The fact that like there's our political system we have now in America, that there's people that are like, this is fine. This is what's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That there's people out there, whatever wing, I don't fucking care, could be decide that like we should not interfere. That this is just was always going to happen, what will happen, and we can't interfere. It's not something that we can deal with. Maybe this is evolution taking its course. Maybe this is a better way for the world to take over what it was supposed to always be. Maybe humanity is fucked up and shouldn't fucking be here. I'm sure other stories have already dealt with this. Last of Us haven't dealt with this, but
yeah,
I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet, to be honest. I've talked a lot. That's a whole lot. This is a longer episode than I thought was going to be. I'm so sorry.
You're running.
And then I've gone through so many rants.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I missed that you in your notes that you felt like we should like touch on, or anything that
no
or whatever?
I know. I mean, and full disclosure, this episode I didn't have as much to say. I mean, I think the sequence with Eugene and the sequence on the porch were the two things that I was drawn to, that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
The rest of the flashback stuff, it's still a little fluff for me.
Yeah.
Like, had it been sprinkled through more, maybe, or had it...
Was there anything more on the porch? Because I feel like I took up a lot of time there. I don't know if you missed anything that you wanted to say there.
No, I mean, like, look, I think I didn't say a lot, but I said things that I think are important that are going to come back. I think...
Well, let's say, what are your concluding thoughts? Now that we've talked about the episode, now that we're here, any concluding thoughts on the episode? General, where are we going?
That's where my mind's going.
Yeah.
As a boy who hasn't played the game,
mm-hmm.
I have no idea what to expect from the last episode of the season.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, there isn't some sort of confrontation or final boss or hurdle or something that like feel like we're leading to. And I'm like, I'm preparing myself to be, I think, very let down or
well,
anxious about.
I know you don't watch the teasers, but we did end the episode with Ellie after Nora in the rain.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And what is that tell you in terms of her headspace, all the kind of things?
We were this close to wrapping up the podcast, so I'm like, it's a bad look making a show to get on here and talk poorly of it, because I still think there's so much cool stuff about this episode and the show in general. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know why the fuck we needed that shot at all. I'm like, it just end it on the porch. It's a flashback episode.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody needs a reminder that, and Ellie's still in Seattle. Like we're going to get that next time. But I was like, especially because nothing happened. She's just walking in the rain. I'm like, I don't know. That's like, it just seems so superfluous to me.
It's, well, I mean, maybe we'll talk about this later. I mean, Seattle's known for its rain. So, there's that.
Oh, and we haven't established that it's actually Seattle yet?
It's Seattle. But also like rain and cinema is sadness, right? Like,
And we didn't get sadness until that shot for you?
She looked very sad.
Come on.
Here's the thing. If I'm being
nothing else sad about this episode.
If I'm
thanks, Rain.
If I'm being honest, the scene felt a little tagged on, but also there's the one thing that I'm getting from this is that she doesn't feel good. It's a reminder of the fact that, like, one, she doesn't know if Jesse and Dina are in there. And then it's that thing where, how do I say this in a weird way? Like when you do something that is like, I shouldn't have done. And in the moment, it feels great. Right? It feels right. It feels like this is it. I'm just like giving in to my like baser instincts. And that's Nora, right? And now she's in the aftermath, in the post Nora killing clarity, is what I'll say. There's like oh fuck. Now I have to confront these two people. And I was supposed to see them a lot earlier, and they're wondering where I'm at. And I have to tell them. And there's a lot of guilt there.
Mm.
A little bit. There's like a little bit of that going on. At least Bella is giving me that performance.
You got all that from that shot?
A little bit.
All right. I gotta watch it again.
I have to assume that it was there for a fucking reason, right? And that there's something there. And if anything, like, because of the show has at the entire episode has like tried to contextualize what is the justifications. We're justifying things, right? And so like she's already thinking about like, how do I justify? What have I done? As much as like we are on her side and she has done the thing with Nora and we feel like she didn't need to do that. I think it's a thing of like she was so filled with rage. She was so filled with anger that now it took her however long to get back to the theater. And now she's like, okay, I have to confront this. I don't know if she will.
I definitely don't.
I don't know. I honestly do not know.
Okay.
If she will confront this. This is not coming from like game knowledge or whatever. But like performance wise, that's at least what I was getting there. That it's not, we were on Ellie's side and we were there and we were like on this kind of thing. And now it's visually with the rain and with the performance.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel so good about it.
Yeah, sure.
Feels a little bit guilty. Maybe she went a little bit too far.
A little.
And I think that's what's setting up the next episode.
Sure.
I don't know.
I have one question.
Sure.
To ask.
Okay.
Close this out.
Great.
Are we going to see Shimmer next episode?
You telling me? You're asking me? I don't fucking know.
Well, I obviously don't know.
I thought it revealed that, like, at this point, like, Shimmer's dead.
So we will see Shimmer.
I
just
don't
not
know.
alive, is what you're saying? That's the
I
prediction?
think I told someone else that, like, obviously, maybe it was you. I don't know. I was like, I think if we're going to see Shimmer, it's going to be like season 3. It's going to be like aftermath. And it's going to be like, okay, maybe they went and got back Shimmer and we're like, oh, like we're okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we're seeing Shimmer next episode.
Wow.
I'm wondering if we're going to see Tommy next episode.
He's been conspicuously out of sight, even when they've told us he's around.
Are we going to see Abby next episode?
I don't know.
There's a whole, to be fair, Shimmer is the more important one.
Obviously. Who's a fuck about Abby?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm torn though, because you're like, are we going to see Abby next episode? And I like, as a dude who hasn't played the game and cares a lot about this like arc of revenge, I'm like, well, I hope so in a sense, because I'm like, isn't that what we're doing? But also I'm like, I kind of hope not, because if she just gets find, discovered, and killed all in one episode, I'm like, damn, that moved fast.
Yes.
Like, we didn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have a lot more to wrangle with.
Yeah.
Then why the fuck are we just dropping that in the 7th episode? You know. But I don't know. We'll see.
Next episode is going to be a doozy. If it plays out, there's a lot of condensing happening. But if it plays out, what we know with the game and where it's going to end, it's going to be a lot in one episode. It's going to be a good finale.
I have a prediction,
but it's going to definitely
go
ahead. Why not? Go ahead and predict. What do you think is going to happen?
Ellie is going to find a way to wrangle the cordyceps mutations to fight for her. She's going to become their queen.
This is interesting. This is interesting.
She's going to ride on a horde of infected. Like brood lord Ellie. Just to take out Seattle entirely. Turn it into one big fucking mushroom party.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I knew it.
The existence
I got it right.
of nuclear weapons on this ship. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Chat.
Let us know.
People on TikTok or whoever's listening to this right now on YouTube. I don't fucking know. If you haven't played the game, obviously if you've played the game, you know what's going to fucking happen. But Morgan, thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
This is a much longer conversation than I expected we were going to have.
You know, you start talking about.
I hope you guys like listened and like enjoyed the conversation. I'm so sorry that we went on like I went on. I'm sorry, you didn't. I went on so many fucking rants.
We get into stuff like purpose, parenthood, generational trauma.
Yeah,
this stuff comes up,
which is where I thought, where I said like it has nothing to do with the episode. There's a whole lot of things that I wanted to talk about that has nothing to do with the episode. I will say it. I did warn you guys
for sure
beforehand. But if there's anything that we missed, if there's anything we should talk about, I know we talked a lot about like whether or not this episode was even good or bad or how it falls into place. There's a whole lot of different things. Please email us, codependentcontent@gmail.com, comment, do whatever. This has been so much fun. We have one episode.
Kind of crazy. There's only one left.
One episode left. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like it's going to be a lot.
I certainly don't know.
I can't believe we've talked almost 3 hours about this one fucking episode. And
this fucking
next episode, there's going to be a whole other fucking thing. We'll see. Yeah. Thank you guys so much, Cocoa Heads, whatever the fuck I'm calling you. I don't fucking know. Please tell me. And I can't wait to talk about the last episode next week with you, Morgan, and with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited.
Thank you for joining me. See you on the next one, guys. Thank you for listening to Codependent Content. For updates, you can follow us on social media. And if you ever want to see a video version of this podcast, feel free to check us out on YouTube or Spotify. If you have any questions or simply want to tell us about something we missed, you can email us at codependentcontent@gmail.com. Or just leave a comment on TikTok and we'll get back to you. Links to all our accounts, where to contact us, or other ways to support will be in the description or show notes. We're glad you're here and working through your traumas with us. Remember, when you're lost in the darkness, search for the light. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you. Until the next session, cowabunga, dudes.